Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Happy Monday. The deuces are wild today. 22nd, right? So, we are going to have two shows again. I got another copyright block again, but they're taking the video down. And I got a surprise video I saw last night, Boz. She had a really good one, too. 16 minutes. So, we're going to play that there at the beginning. And I got a lot of good videos. I'm telling you, each day is going to get more and more till July 4th. So I hope Lucy, what we got here? Oh what it seems. How's it going? Unusual that you come on. Normally I see you at night, but yeah, it's gonna be busy every day now till the 4th. So it's gonna be busy. I took Chico to the park a little bit ago. And somebody was in the hospital over the weekend. Nino Rodriguez was in the hospital. So I got a 2 minute clip on that. I don't normally play Dr. Pruitt, but she had a video out that should be shared. So I'm going to play that one. I'm going to wait till, what time we got? 12. I still got a couple minutes here before 1. So Hopefully, finally, you can put the disclaimer on. Or Carol. Did anybody hear Trump speak last night? He was on late. So, hope everyone had a good Father's Day weekend. And, yep, we'll see what happens these next till the 4th. A lot of people are at work listening, I hope. And entertainment purposes and opinions on YouTube on everything what we've shared today. Hopefully Carol Feigl will come in and drop the disclaimer. Lucy, Mom, hope you got the internet working. So the first video I'm going to play will be 2 minutes on Nino. I'll wait a couple of videos before I email. So we're going to go ahead and get started.
Actually, I have afibrillation, and I thought I was sleepwalking, and I hit the floor, so I blacked out twice. I don't really know what's going on, but I think it's just stress, man. But they're gonna keep me over the weekend, so I'll start uploading again on Nino's Corner.tv as soon as I get back. I promise you guys. Okay? So I'll be right back to work as soon as I get out of here. Just say some prayers for me. Folks, so I'm getting discharged, and I had afibrillation. I felt like a lead balloon at my house, and I got to take a leak at like 4 a.m. I just woke up on the floor, and then I thought I was maybe sleepwalking.
Video last night. We got a bunch of other
but then again, it happened at 6 a.m., so it happened twice.
Got another copyright
block. So that's where I'm at with this right now. So
that's an update with Nino there. I'm gonna play. Let's go ahead and just do a shout out to Dr. Pruitt.
Their student loans have been completely discharged.
Shout out to her.
Completely wiped out. And most of us that have been paying attention knew something was about to come down the pipeline, right? Because as I reported to you all, this is a part of NASARA that student loan debt and all bank loans would disappear. They would be canceled because these loans have been fraudulent. All of these companies lent us no money. What they did, in
Only
fact,
2 minutes,
was to
guys. 2
have
minutes.
us to sign a promissory note. And each time we signed on the dotted line, we were, unbeknownst to us, giving them access to our trust accounts.
Welcome.
Our trust
Thanks for
account
coming
is
in.
attached to our birth certificate bonds,
Let's be respectful.
our
Thank
social
you.
security number, and other trusts that were created for us at birth. So when we sign on the dotted line, these people will go and access our trusts or these banks, pay themselves, and then force us to pay them a second time with interest, which, by the way, interest, asking somebody for interest is against the Constitution for our republic. So these banks and these institutions have operated fraudulently and treasonously. So it had to be done, but we'll get into that a little later. I just want to show you that student loan debt for many people is gone. And this will happen for you all too. Goodbye, student loans. According to this one report, some 30,000 borrowers have had their payments completely canceled. So over 30,000 students were notified by email that their student loans have been completely discharged, completely wiped out. And most of us.
That was big, good credit there. Oh, so she's for real, Maria? I didn't know if she's good or not. Flying Eagle told me about her, and I played her a long time ago. I wasn't sure how good she was. So yeah, go sub to her channel, right up with that video there. I got one more, and then I'll do Mel. 8-minute one here, you guys, or a 7-minute one. You guys remember this one?
Keep up with demand. These machines are running 24/7, pumping out more than $500 million into the U.S. economy every day. But this is only a tiny fraction of how much money is really made. Most of our money exists digitally, and this number currently goes up by more than $4 billion every day. But where does all of this money come from? Before it ever reached your bank account, it changed hands countless times, passing through people, governments, and businesses, all after being simply typed into existence on a computer. But in order to fully understand how we got to this point, we need to go back to a time before money. If a farmer, thousands of years ago, needed a new tool, he'd go to the local tool maker to buy one. The farmer didn't have anything to give him in return, so instead, they both just agreed that he owed him something in the future. Because the toolmaker trusted the farmer, his promise of future value was an acceptable form of payment. Sure enough, 2 weeks later, the farmer came back and gave him some food from his farm. To make transactions easier, people started to pay using more commonly used items like cattle, grain, and salt. Everyone needed these things, but they were hard to come by, and that's what made them valuable. The farmer could now buy a tool and pay for it right away, using a precise amount of grain that seemed like a fair exchange. This made transactions quicker, and both parties would leave with something valuable to them. But eventually the demand for trade was too much, and paying with a random mix of bulky objects wasn't good enough. People eventually settled on using metal coins, like gold and silver, since they were small, extremely valuable, and would last forever, unlike cattle or grain. Suddenly, trade around the world opened up, and things were being bought and sold all the way from China to Europe. But traveling with so much gold became heavy and dangerous. This was when the whole idea of money started to change. In 17th century London, trusted goldsmiths started to take in people's gold coins, promising to look after them for a small fee. In return, they would give the customer a piece of paper, a promise note that allowed them to retrieve their gold at any time. The key to this piece of paper was that the customer could go to any goldsmith in any town and claim back that exact amount of gold. The paper itself had no intrinsic value, but it became as good as gold. The notes were so convenient that people started simply exchanging them to buy and sell things. The goldsmiths realized that most people weren't actually coming to retrieve their gold, and so they started loaning out fake promise notes to customers. instant money that had to be paid back with interest, making the goldsmiths a small profit. This was fake money that didn't actually come out of their gold supply. If a goldsmith loaned out 100 coins, they wouldn't become 100 coins poorer. They'd simply write the customer a fake note that was worth 100 coins, which could be spent anywhere. Eventually, the customer would pay back the loan plus the fee, making the goldsmith 105 coins richer. On top of that, the customer would spend their money by paying someone for goods, making them richer. From that single loan, the total money in existence increased by 100 coins, yet no new coins were produced. This meant that more money was in people's hands than actually existed. As long as everyone didn't come to cash in their notes at the same time, everything would be fine. If we replace the goldsmiths with banks and the promise notes with digital money, we have today's system of money. We think of banks as places that store our money and keep it safe, but that's not really what's going on. When you give a bank your money, they are in debt to you. The numbers you see in your bank account aren't real wads of cash sitting in a vault. They are simply promise notes, showing that the bank owes you money and that you can claim it back whenever you want. A loan is the exact same, but in the opposite direction. When banks lend us money, we are in debt to them, and we have to pay them back. This is where money really gets made. Just like the goldsmiths, when a bank gives out a loan, they don't get poorer. They simply type new money into your bank account. It's brand new money that didn't exist before. The only difference is that when you pay it back, the money gets canceled out, and the bank only keeps the interest. But with that loan, you paid for a new car, and that money eventually made its way to the employees of the dealership. Then they spent that money, and it continued to create hundreds of new transactions, powering businesses, creating new technologies, and providing us with food. All of this value and productivity would never have happened if new money hadn't entered the system. The problem is that productivity doesn't necessarily increase when we create new money, and that can cause inflation. If society starts producing fewer goods, but more money is added into the system, prices will go up, since there is more competition for fewer goods. Because of this, banks have to limit how much money they create. In the past, they could only lend out a portion of the actual cash they had in their backup supply. Nowadays, though, banks have almost complete freedom to create as much money as they like. If they are running low on backup money, they can simply go to the central bank and ask for more money. And that's where things get ridiculous. To create new money, the government creates a bond, which is essentially a loan that provides a steady income. Banks, corporations, and foreign countries buy these bonds from the US government, and this influx of money goes toward the government's budget. The government uses this money to pay companies and people, and it eventually makes its way back to the banks. The problem is, the US government almost always spends more money than it makes, so it is constantly in debt to those that buy bonds. In order to pay for that debt, it uses the taxpayers' money. Last year, the government spent almost $7 trillion, but your tax money wasn't enough to pay for this. And so the government had to create new bonds to receive more money, putting it further in debt, and the cycle continues. As crazy as it sounds, this system of adding more money through debt is how most of the world operates. It isn't necessarily a bad system. It's just not running anywhere near maximum efficiency. If banks created money for more productive things, like businesses, education, and infrastructure, all of this money going into the system could give us higher returns in the long run.
Well, that was interesting, huh? Okay, we got now 16-minute video coming up.
Welcome, 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 ladies and gentlemen. It is a very special, sizzling Sunday. Oh, boy, have we got a lot to talk about. But first of all, just to let you know that there is a couple of things that we need to do in housekeeping-wise, and I've just turned my phone off. So I'll just have to try and remember it. But ladies and gentlemen, it was brought to my attention that a lot of people were sort of like, I guess, a little disappointed or misunderstood what I was referring to the other day. Due to the time restraints, I just physically and mentally cannot cope with the amount of Q&As that we do every week. It's not that I'm not going to do Q&As, it's just that we have to limit. My time frame is just fully spent, as I said, doing, starting to get ready for projects and that myself. So please understand and be very, very patient. I will post after the show a clear message, as I said, giving you the complete rundown of what is going to happen. So, of course, on Wednesday, we will still have the Wacky Wednesday here on this main channel. And on Fridays, we go across to Finance Friday in the Digital Assets page, okay? And just a reminder that there is no chat room. If you are in a chat room and you think it's me answering your questions, it simply is not me. So be very, very careful. We're going to touch on that a little bit more today. Funnily enough, I've actually come to the last page of my notebook. So this is kind of like, interesting, isn't it? So let's get into it. Let's talk about what is going to happen this week. And of course, a couple of interesting things, a point of reference, and then we'll get into some special things that we need to start focusing on. On the 24th of July, of course, is the rally to end all rallies. What does that mean? Does this mean that Trump's finishing as well? We'll wait and see. See what comes out of that. But also reminding people that J.D. Vance did disappear on a military plane just yesterday, I believe, with a nuclear football. Where was he going? Switzerland. The keys that unlock the financial system, just putting that out there as well. As I said, there will be a text message after the show, giving you up to date. Those who are over and buy me a coffee, please also note this. If you were in Buy Me a Coffee from the link that came from this particular channel, it is okay. It is the links that were from the chat room and everything else that were nefarious, okay? It is too difficult to cancel Buy Me a Coffee, but I have put some other things in place. So if you have subscribed to Buy Me a Coffee, please know that it is okay if you used the link that was subscribed here. The digital assets, as I said, will be over there every Friday and make sure that we are ready. So let's talk about some special things today. Some of the very most important things are, is, like I said, we are finishing this journey. And so we need to make sure that our safety and everything is in progress. So we're going to talk about the NESARA JASARA side of things. Some interesting moves just happened just recently regarding Senator Grassley. Now, we need to follow Grassley, and he is, of course, promoting the Save America Act. This is your NESARA JASARA Act. Okay? So if you're wondering what to start looking at or where to go and you want to entertain yourself, then follow Grassley. Save America Act. That is your Farmers Act. That's your new version of NESARA JASARA. Is that going to be, as I said, the implementation of Nasara Jasara coming from that particular act? We've seen it over this time when it comes time to executive orders. They are all implementing in technically Nasara Jasara. So very, very important. Moving forward. Okay, so we have this onset of the fact that the scammers are still out there. So how do we protect ourselves? Know that if you received a misdelivery text, it most likely is a scam. Continue, ladies and gentlemen, to make sure that you update your software. This includes your phone, your tablet, your computers. Continue to update your software. Okay, I know it's annoying, but definitely do that. Strengthen your passwords. Well, there's a couple of things that we can identify now is that when it comes time to passwords, if you've become part of the digital sector, you will be able to create a strong password that you don't have to remember, and it is saved and stored in your phone and your computer. Okay? This also creates like a second factor authenticity in the sense, but just remember that you don't have to remember passwords, because often our password is the same for each of our emails, unlocking our phone. And if someone was to get a hold of that easy password that we're trying to remember, then it can create an issue. So also remember this when doing emails as well. It is important that moving forward with your humanitarian projects and this, that, and all the rest of it, just a little reminder to set up a email that is not attached to any of your Gmails. It is separate. It does not contain your name or anything resembling your family or anything like that as well. And you have that email set up specifically for that of your actual humanitarian project, so to speak. Okay, and this goes with even your company emails. All right, keep everything completely separate. All right, do not use, as I said, do not use your name. Turn on that two-factor authenticity. If you are not tech savvy, you can always go to YouTube, and YouTube will give you very short videos on how to set up two-factor authenticity, or authentication, I should say, for whatever apps you're going to be using. All right? So you need to get very, very savvy when it comes to digital. And once you do it a few times, it's not difficult at all. Also review all your privacy settings. If you're on Facebook or on any other social medias, it's always a friendly reminder to make sure that you go through and check all your privacy settings as well. Make sure that your phone number is not displayed. Photos, especially of your family and that, are not, able to be accessed.
Hey, Lucy, did you get everything going with the internet? Is she watching it? This is a 16-minute video one, and I played a couple good ones at the beginning. And Billy will be next with the 14-minute one. And I got a cash video that's important one I'm going to play. That's 20. Okay, that's good. All right. Hi, Mom.
Accessed through those social medias. So go check out your privacy settings. Clean up any old accounts, website services, check your bank statements and make sure that there is no little tiny fees still coming out or something that you may have purchased moons ago. Back up your data. Interesting. You can back it up, of course, on iCloud, but there's also a method that is being shown to me about backing up your phone or computer if it was even lost or stolen. We use the 3-2-1 method. 3 copies of your data, 2 different types of storage, and 1 copy off-site. So Google that and ask ChatGPT how to back up and back up all your data using the 3-2-1 method. Scan for malware. Make sure your antiviruses are up to date. Phishing attempts. This is where scammers are asking for your personal information. Now, they can do that through an email or a text message or a phone call. Do not give out your personal information. Secure your Wi-Fi. Make sure that you do still have a unique password that is only unique for your household, your phone, and be very cautious, of course, of that when going to coffee shops and McDonald's and things like that as well. Educate yourself continuously. And this is a little bit different today, but to make sure that you continue to educate yourself. It doesn't matter really what you're educating yourself in, but make sure that you continue to educate yourself, not just in security. Know that tech support will never, ever call you. Okay, so if someone rings you from Apple or Microsoft giving you technical support, they will never, ever call you. All right? Screen lock your phone using facial recognition, your thumbprint, or a PIN number. A PIN number is not as strong as what it used to be. Okay, so you may have to upgrade your security moving forward because we are about to receive this wealth, ladies and gentlemen. So get to it. As I said, social media profiles, please go back and check them. What's going to happen this week? That's enough on security. Well, this coming week, what is going to happen? What's going to unfold to keep us on our toes this week? As I said, the 24th, that's the Wednesday, is the rally to end all rallies. But before that, we're going to watch the Fed. They're having an emergency announcement. What kind of an emergency are they talking about? Is this to the stock market crash that we all expected, but it's not going to be a stock market crash? They're going to do something perhaps that will cover so that we don't have a stock market crash. Again, things are not what they seem. The stock market crash could be that announcement, but it wasn't. It was to be a stock market crash, but now it's not. On Tuesday, we've got the US Treasury doing macro data. What is macro data? This is the macroeconomics of a country or a state. And it reflects the overall health and well-being of the state. And so the US Treasury are going to make an announcement. It's interesting that this week that these announcements are all happening one after the other. This has never happened before. This is why this is a Sunday special. Listen carefully. Emergency announcement, then the macros, and then the Fed's going to possibly inject $3.31 billion, which we know is a pretty big cop-out considering the US debt per se is in the trillions. Again, this is just the theatre. But the Fed's going to inject that the same day that DJT is having his rally to end all rallies. We know that gold will kill the Fed. So is this about him announcing that the Federal Reserve is gone? The rally to end all rallies? No more stock market rallies? There's a lot of rallies going on. Thursday, the initial jobless claims. What does that mean? This is the number of people who are filing for unemployment. So does the EBS even go off on Wednesday at the rally to end all rallies? And then all of a sudden we have this initial jobless claims. The number of people filing for unemployment is going to be released. And on Friday, Finance Friday, the FOMC President's speech, the Federal Open Market Committee, this is the branch or one of the branches of the Federal Reserve. Do you see how this is going to unfold? We have the Federal Reserve making an announcement. Then the US Treasury, which has already incorporated the Federal Reserve. We've got this Fed injecting billions of dollars. Is this just to balance the little bit of books, the last of the books? The jobless claims, less jobs, meaning universal income, EBS perhaps, as I said, and then the Federal Reserve branch coming out, and they're going to be having a meeting as well. What do that brings us to? Well, interestingly enough, the Federal Reserve branch, FOMC, their next meeting after this one on Friday is July the 28th to the 29th. But my eyes then go to September the 15th to the 16th, where it includes updated summaries of the economic projections. And then the big one, which we announced just the other day, October the 27th to the 28th. That's interesting. That's when Ripple Swells Summit, and Matt Damon is going to be speaking with and alongside of Brad Garlinghouse and David Schwartz of Ripple. How interesting is this getting, ladies and gentlemen? Well, as I said, for now, it is a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and a good night for me.
Okay, that was a big update from last night. She came out. So I don't think there'll be one tomorrow night. So we'll have to wait till the weekend to get another one from her. So that was a big one. I got a 3-minute one. Last night Trump spoke. I got to find that channel that I had. I sent to Kay and everybody. I think I sent it to Lucy too. If you got it last night. But there's a 3-minute video before I do Billy.
And they're stupid people. So you can only go so far. You drive somebody into the ground and a lot of bad things happen. Number one, the strait would never open because they don't like floating billion-dollar ships up and down a strait when there are rockets flying over them and mines all over the place. So.
And with those words, I would get ready if I were you. That is the first public admission from Trump and the White House that they lack the cards. They are not in the seat in which he tries to say that we've been in, and this is about to become a disaster.
What do you guys think of this one?
Last week, going on a week now, he said we're 4 weeks from disaster. He said this himself on camera, and now he is telling the whole world that a U.S. Great Depression is on the horizon. He is warning you flat out because there's rules to the game. He said it. A bunch of people missed it. You need to share this and get this out there and tell people, hey, if you're not seeing what's going on, they're about to reset the whole globe, the entire planet. He said the strait will never open if there's no Iran deal. There hasn't been, and they're giving 60 days. That is 2 months. That's a lot longer than 4 weeks. And if you can do the math, you clearly see there's a problem. We have people flipping out there saying that you better stock up on supplies. The price of fertilizer itself, they're stating right now, is going through the roof. That the ingredients and everything that you need for all your food just got way more expensive. Your grocery bills are about to soar.
Okay, this name is DAH Bo77. Credit to his channel. DAHBOO77. Shout out.
Or 2. And they've come out and they said Warsh and all them are expected to raise rates 3 times this year. They are planning to crush this place. All the warning signs are there. I've covered them. I've told you. It's all there. I don't know what else to say when Trump comes out and makes a statement like that about a U.S. Great Depression. I'd have your ducks in a row, and I'd have some kind of plan on supplies. Because at some point here, it's going to hit, and the herd is going to stampede in to get stuff. You need to get caught in it. You've had plenty of time, advance warning, to do something. So I wish you well. Join me for the live streams going live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, where I'm trying to talk about remedies and things we can do against all this. But we're running out of time, and big events are right in front of us.
Good one here. Good channel. Okay, 15-minute Billy Bean. A lot of good stuff so far, you guys.
Time in Texas about 11 a.m. And thanks for like, subscribe, and share. Some of the things we'll cover. Author, 29 inches of rain. President Trump over the Strait of Hormuz. U.S. fighter jets and refuelers. And how are the U.S.-Iran talks going? CCP bans Messi. And I'd like to say thank you to Dwight P. for extra support for my channel. Now, I'd like to begin with some breaking news that suddenly, within the last hour, we had simultaneous outages across multiple platforms, including Cloud, Microsoft X, Verizon, AT&T.
Oh, wow,
Plus.
this big
And at
update.
that same time, we had in South Texas electricity go out for about 15 minutes, and my bank is currently doing maintenance. So that's going on. It's, according to U.S. Intel, might be a cyber hit. So let's pray against that. What we have from Space Weather, formerly on YouTube, is that we have an increase in solar wind today that could give us low-level geomagnetic storms. And
blur video, even
Yep.
on your 4K screen?
It is
One
there.
click and TubeHance sets the highest quality. Always. Hit add to Chrome and get TubeHance for free. Crystal.
we have that the El Nino, a paper coming out tying the current El Nino, the increase in temperature in the Pacific Ocean, to solar activity in 2024. And that another paper bringing out 75% of volcanoes, I'm assuming land and underwater, have been tied back to pole shifts. So that would be a study going back in history, hundreds or thousands of years. And we have this from Space Weather, NASA NOAA, that we experienced an M-class flare today, and we're expecting X's today or tomorrow. Now, author, that tropical storm we had last week brought in heavy rain and flash flooding to at least 5 states, including Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and Florida, and dumped in a 24-hour period 29 inches of rain on Louisiana. Currently, Tropical Storm Author has dissipated and there's no activity in the tropics. We have this from Real Raw News.
Thanks, Lucy.
That the Department of War is investigating at Lackland Air Force Base, located in San Antonio, Texas, a possible release of a bioweapon, flu. So that's going on. When they had 160 soldiers suddenly all come down with the flu simultaneously in the summer. So that happened just a few days ago. We have this from Facebook talking about illegals. 43% of all recipients of food stamps are illegals. 95% of all murders in the U.S. In California are done by illegals. 95%. We have only 2% of illegals actually pick crops, but 41% receive welfare benefits. In California, 66% of all births are from illegals. 60% of HUD property is occupied by illegals. 39% of all California students are illegals. 75% of Los Angeles most wanted criminals.
Well, what I said yesterday, every day is going to be big. Each day is getting bigger. And the first 6 videos I played already were big. I got more to come.
Are illegals. So you have to wonder why people in California don't want a change in their government. We have this from 2C TV. Keir Starmer is due to resign soon as prime minister because.
Yeah, you guys remember a long time ago about Julie Green when she said all the CEOs or leaders of each country followed? Well, another one I think resigned. The UK guy on Fox this morning.
His party lost power, and now Andy Burnham has been elected by the party to be prime minister. But I see on Breitbart that Keir Starmer is trying to draw it out, saying he most likely won't resign for 3 weeks and possibly into the summer until there's a new formal change in the Labor Party leaders. We have this from TFI Global. So recently, Ukraine hit a school bus in Belarus, taking a sports team to play a game. The coach's wife, who was pregnant, was killed. They had 6 children injured. Clearly a civilian target by Ukraine. And we have this. So Ukraine is now demanding that Belarus remove its air defense systems and other radars it has up along the border with Ukraine. The border is 1,000 kilometers or about 622 miles. So that's going on. And we have this. Yeah, from China Observer. So we've been hearing a lot about the World Cup.
Check this out. I'm going to show you how I afforded this car. Okay, you ready? $118 for car insurance. That's how much I was paying. Okay, I picked up.
We call it soccer. The rest of the world calls it football. To distinguish, I understand, when football is used globally, it refers to soccer. And they call what we play in the U.S. American football. So at any rate, Messi is a world-class soccer player from Argentina. And he went to Hong Kong in 2024 and played in a game. He only played a few minutes because he had injuries. Well, the ticket sales operation in Hong Kong had highly touted Messi and said he would play 45 minutes in the game. So now CCP in China is banning Messi on TV and news and so on. So that's going on. And we have this. So we know the world is heating up. We have a decreasing electromagnetic shield, letting in more radiation from the sun. We have magma rising inside the earth in all directions. It's heating up. Europe is having a heat wave. And today, many French schools are closed. And in Bordeaux, France, they had a temperature of 42 Celsius or 107 degrees Fahrenheit. Spain, 40 degrees Celsius, about 100 degrees Fahrenheit. And all over Europe, they're experiencing abnormal high temperatures, 5 to 10 degrees above normal. We have this from U.S. Intel regarding the Iran talks. So Arachi, the foreign minister for Iran, announced last night about 7 p.m. that the U.S. would release $300 billion to Iran, and that they would drop the sanctions on Iranian oil. They would lift the blockade, and they would also release some of the frozen money. And we have this, and that was announced shortly before President Trump's comments, which included, make a deal or you might not make it back to your effing country. At which time we understand the Iran team went back to their hotel for a little while. Apparently, they later came back. We have this, and we know that Iran wants Israel to stop hitting the Hezbollah, who is bombing Israel. We have this from Gavir and Katz in Israel. Israel will not withdraw from Lebanon. And then about 11 p.m. last night, we had up over the Strait of Hormuz U.S. fighter jets and refuelers. We're not given an explanation of why President Trump ordered this, but I suspect it was to juice the Iranians up to make a deal. We have this from Fox News this morning, Vice President J.D. Vance, saying that Iran had agreed in the future to let in the IAEA to check their nuclear supplies, and that the Strait of Hormuz would be open. And we have this from Iran Observer via Sequel's aggregate site, that a conflict control unit has been agreed to by the U.S. and Iran, established to stabilize front lines in the Middle East. And also a telephone number or telephone communication has been agreed to by the U.S. and Iran, a hotline regarding the Strait of Hormuz. And that a nuclear working group has been established, and this is to begin work when the U.S. implements what Iran wants to be done. And also, this nuclear working group will begin when Clause 13 of the working agreement has been implemented. I do not know what is Clause 13. We haven't seen any of the documents yet coming out of the U.S.-Iran meetings. And we have this. Iran says it has signed an agreement with Qatar to release frozen money.
I played all the good ones at the beginning, Kay. You might have to go back and see the beginning ones, good ones.
But we know it's the U.S. Secretary of Treasury Bassett who is controlling that money. Now, we had Vice President Vance come out this morning and also say that an agreement had been reached with Iran where the frozen money in Qatar would be administered by Secretary of Treasury Bassett and could only be used to buy farm produce products from U.S. farmers. So that's going on. And we have this from Alex Cristoforo regarding Ukraine and Russia. Russian flags are now up over two previous Ukraine cities, Kansnika and Liman. And also, we know that Ukraine has been hitting Crimea very hard, and it's destroyed all the bridges there, and they have gasoline rationing. Well, the Republic of Crimea, their leader, came out and said gasoline now is being rationed and it's only being set aside for government operations. So that's going on. This concludes my flash. I love you, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you. This is really nice.
Okay. So we got a 30-minute new update Trish video on ABC with Whoopi Goldberg. I don't know, they had a meltdown, so we'll play that one later. I got a cast video, still to come, a good one. They had a riot or some kind of McDonald's or something they had. So what we got going up next? Let's play. Let's play this 10-minute one with Benny. Did we play this yesterday?
By Joe Biden's auto pen, not Joe Biden's actual signature. So is the pardon actually something that would withstand a court system or actual legal rigor? I'm not sure, but here's what I know about the year 2014. That's during the Obama presidency. That's the exact year when Barack Obama said that you will not be doing gain-of-function research here in America. Up until that point, Dr. Fauci was being paid an enormous sum of money through the Patriot Act and the CIA in order to conduct bioweapons research in America. Dr. Fauci in 2014 moved all that offshore. And so that's why the pardon goes to 2014. Because they knew that was the moment that Dr. Fauci started doing the bioweapons experiments in Ukraine and in China and in various different other nations around the world. Tulsi Gabbard proved this in her last act as ODNI director. She said never before seen documents expose the truth about Fauci directing millions of U.S. taxpayer dollars to fund dangerous gain-of-function research at the Wuhan lab. The intelligence community suppressed the truth about these actions. You know that Dr. Fauci had this thing cooking because Dr. Fauci said he was going to release the COVID virus on the Trump administration. If you know where to look, and if you're smart enough to be paying attention, which is what this channel does, you'll know about this clip. Dr. Fauci, at this point, and a totally and completely obscure bureaucrat,
there is no
giving a pointless speech, some dusty room with probably 20 people there, and some Georgetown lunch where nobody's even listening to him. But Dr. Fauci told you the plan. This is the day before Trump was sworn into office in 2017.
Is that there is no question that there will be a challenge to the coming administration in the arena of infectious diseases, both chronic infectious diseases in the sense of already ongoing disease, and we have certainly a large burden of that, but also there will be a surprise outbreak. And
it was so, like, in what world Dr. Fauci's been working inside of the federal government's health system since Jimmy Carter. He started at Gerald Ford and Jimmy Carter. So he didn't say this during Gerald Ford or Jimmy Carter or Reagan 1 or Reagan 2 or Bush or Clinton 1 or Clinton 2. He didn't say it during Bush 1 or Bush 2. He didn't say it during Obama 1 or Obama 2. He only said it that there would be a surprise outbreak during and right when President Trump is about to be sworn into office. Why is that? Because as we found out this week, Dr. Fauci created the virus and they have all the documentation to back that up. But you might say, oh, look, here's the pardon of Dr. Fauci from Joe Biden. Maybe the signature isn't his, maybe not. You could argue that. But you can still say that the dates work out in his favor right here. Because
I don't think I played this one.
Any offenses against the United States that he may have committed or taken part of for the period of January 1st, 2014 to the date of the pardon, right? Well, ladies and gentlemen, Tulsi Gabbard has come in over the top and said, why didn't you create a path to prosecute him? You waited. Why? He lied to Congress in 2024. There is a path, says Tulsi Gabbard, mentioning potentially this testimony from Dr. Fauci, where Dr. Fauci is openly lying to Congress and Rand Paul.
That if you look at those viruses, and that's judged by qualified virologists and evolutionary biologists, those viruses are molecularly impossible
to
result
No
in
one's saying those viruses caused the pandemic. We're saying they are gain-of-function viruses because they were animal viruses that became more transmissible in human, and you funded it.
And you
admit the truth.
And you implying...
Senator Paul, your time has expired, and I will allow witnesses who come...
You ever seen Dr. Fauci shake like that? Never. You've seen Dr. Fauci do 100,000 media hits. He never shakes like that. Although he ain't doing any media hits anymore. Isn't that interesting? Dr. Fauci just vanished. Why would that be? Because the PR flacks that he works with are telling him to shut up and stay out of the spotlight because they know that he's guilty. That's why he would get a pardon. That's why he got this pardon. And Tulsi is saying that he lied to Congress in 2004. There is a path. This would be Fauci lied to Congress in 2021. 2021 statute of limitations has run out for only the first of the 3 felony cases. So what she's saying is the statute of limitations. So Dr. Fauci could get the charges thrown out of court immediately by saying, hey, there's a 5-year statute of limitations to lying to Congress, which there is. Lying to Congress is something very serious, punishable by huge fines, $250,000 fine, 5 years in prison if you lie to Congress. So don't lie to Congress. And Dr. Fauci lied to Congress just 2 years ago, says Tulsi Gabbard. So you're well within the statute of limitations to charge him. So that means that the trial would move forward. Then Dr. Fauci would need to argue his pardon. And then that would add the question of, is this a real pardon? First, you have to bring the charges. First, you should be charging Dr. Fauci. You know, they've already charged and impaneled grand juries against a number of Dr. Fauci's senior lieutenants. How is this not the leading news story everywhere on earth? Tulsi Gabbard, I love this era of Tulsi clapbacking. Seeing who is choosing not to report on it tells the story. Well, yeah, because the corporate media were complicit in all of this. Thank Tulsi Gabbard for releasing the truth about Dr. Fauci, China, and the COVID virus. Well, I was the ambassador to Iceland. I called out the fake news and disinformation. I was criticized for telling the truth. Truth will always prevail. What does Tulsi say to this? Always. And she says, Fauci was funding the lab and then lying under oath shows exactly why trust in these agencies have hit rock bottoms. Heads should roll. One of many examples, says Tulsi, sadly. And thank you, Tulsi, says RFK, among the most consequential crimes in human history. This aged incredibly well, I said yesterday. My pronouns are prosecute Fauci. Elon Musk sending the world's biggest banger here in 2022, 213,000 reposts, 1.1 million likes, 91,000 comments, yet Republicans have done nothing to prosecute Fauci. Elon Musk gave me a salute yesterday, so thank you, Elon. Hail Caesar, right? Yeah. Fauci committed so many evil crimes. Here we go. Newly declassified email shows that Anthony Fauci coordinated with the intelligence community regarding COVID-19, despite repeatedly denying doing so under oath.
3 minutes.
Here we go. Dr. Fauci did go into the scurry his little rat behind into the CIA on a regular basis, Dr. Fauci did pay off the members of the CIA team that were going to determine with certitude that COVID-19 escaped from a lab. And they would know this because they funded it. Again, Dr. Fauci's funding comes through the CIA, through the Patriot Act, to do bioweapons research. And Barack Obama stopped it. Barack Obama's not a good dude, but they're not broke clock is right twice a day. This was a good decision. Barack Obama knew this was probably a decision made by Barack Obama because he realized that the deep state were using this operation to control him and the presidency. Hey, we'll just release a giant virus on you. Well, I'll shut down all the virus labs. So they moved it off. Site. Dr. Fauci is one of the most evil mass murderers in human history. He should be mentioned with Hitler and Stalin. 3 major broadcast networks, ABC, NBC, and CBS, have yet to report on DNI Tulsi Gabbard's recent declassification regarding Anthony Fauci. The whole based CBS thing isn't working out for us. Here, on her final days as DNI, Tulsi Gabbard drops the Fauci file. He funded risky gain-of-function research in Wuhan. He lied to Congress about it, and he actively buried the lab leak truth. Zero coverage. The Gabbard file. I just saw the video online. It's from a 2016 Academy of Medicine meeting where Daszak talks about his colleagues in China manipulating the spike protein coronavirus that makes him more virulent. That's exactly what they did. Peter Daszak was the guy who ran EcoHealth Alliance. He needs to be charged. He needs to be criminally charged as well. I sent a criminal referral to Fauci twice before the Biden DOJ, and then the Trump DOJ. I continue to advocate for challenging his pardon. That's right. Senator Rand Paul has been a warrior on all of this, done really well, really great job. Senator Paul on our program explaining how Dr. Fauci could be charged. We found evidence that he destroyed federal records and directed and destroyed federal records. These are separate crimes. Fauci made the largest error in modern medicine and public health policy ever. Such a profound mistake and dangerous research in Wuhan without adequate safety that led to the death of 18 million people. We're going to see if he voluntarily comes in to testify. If he doesn't, we need to subpoena him. We need to charge him. It's time, ladies and gentlemen. It's time to bring Fauci in. We have plenty of people on the record saying this. Plenty of people on the record saying it. Mike Lee. Anthony Fauci inflicted immeasurable harm on the American people, all while misleading Congress about gain-of-function research, directing taxpayer dollars to risky coronavirus experiments. History will revile him. They should revile him while he's sitting in prison. Don't care if he's 85. Don't care. Don't care. Send a message. It's not about the money. It's about sending a message.
Okay, I'm going to play Cash video, then that big Trish video follows. Try to get all the big ones out.
I have put forward a vision alongside so many others to say that ICE should be abolished.
So, New York City's sanctuary mayor wants to abolish ICE, but there's a problem because we've been learning over the last several weeks that law enforcement here is completely overwhelmed by criminals, something that hasn't gone unnoticed by President Trump's border czar, who has promised to do something that's never happened before in New York City.
Their lawful assembly at Delaney Hall over the weekend after 6 people were arrested following days of violent protest.
What do you say to people who say language like abolish ICE are unhelpful for the Democratic Party?
I think if we've listened to them before and look where we are. I think it's time to develop a new vision for this party.
So DHS responded, slamming Mayor Mamdani in a statement and accusing him of, quote, turning New York City into a shield for violent criminal illegal aliens to reoffend and create more innocent victims.
Many New Yorkers share, and I also do believe that ICE as an entity is one that should be abolished and that we should return to an immigration system that has more humanity at the heart of it.
Well, the ones we're charging with crimes, the one that, you know, they go from protesting to criminal activity, insulting our officers and damaging government property. most of them from out of state. This is a well-planned, established thing they're doing.
So the border czar is vowing the largest ever ICE crackdown on New York City. But what everyone's missing is this wouldn't have to happen if New York's governor didn't team up with the mayor to pass laws with the intent of abolishing ICE, stopping them from doing their jobs, which federal law mandates across the entire state, making it a sanctuary for criminals who will now be safe in jails and in police custody. Plus, it bans ICE from protecting themselves and their identities from the radicals who promise to find out who they are, where they live, and speak to their families. And it does this by banning them from wearing the same masks their assailants wear. But here's the thing. No state can pass a law that bans the federal government from doing what it is legally required to do, which means all of this is political. And when the border czar says he's going to surge New York City like never before, he'll be able to do it and get away with it. But the mobs don't care about that. They just care about destroying the city and getting rid of law enforcement regardless of what badge they're wearing. And even though this new set of laws is totally unenforceable, that's not why they were passed. Nope, the real reason we've now got these laws on the books in New York is so that there can be something politicians can point to and say, see, ICE is breaking our laws. What they're doing is against the law. What they're doing is illegal. We ban this, but they do it anyways, all during an election year to try and generate momentum for a political party that is severely lacking it right now. But is this plan even going to work? Immigration is a huge deal for Americans who just lived through years of a wide open border and saw sanctuaries like New York roll out the red carpet, so to speak, for federal fugitives with luxury hotel rooms, while hundreds of thousands remain homeless on the streets of our country. And as normal people watch what's happening in places like New York, they're asking themselves, is it really a good idea to surrender to these radicals and elect candidates they support? How could you do that in your city or town and not expect this to happen? Watch. Yeah, you know, that's pretty crazy. Those individuals, I don't know who they voted for, but I could take a wild guess. If there's a candidate these individuals want and you put them in office, this kind of thing is going to come to your backyard faster than you can say, close the border. And what's crazy about this is the same cities experiencing constant rioting and agitation with the federal government. These are the same places where people are struggling with insane rents and insane grocery prices nobody can afford. And while everyone, including the politicians running these places, say they care about public safety, the way they demonstrate that is by fighting every single day to remove law enforcement and downsize it and defund it. ICE just happens to be the law enforcement agency they hate most right now, but after ICE is gone, it'll be the local police, and then what? Which is a real shame, because these sanctuary police can't do anything to control their local criminals, but ICE sure can if that criminal happens to be in the country illegally. But listen to what the mayor has to say about the one law enforcement agency New Yorkers might actually have to listen to if they show up and start arresting people that aren't supposed to be here and are not improving our country at all.
This is partially why I have put forward a vision alongside so many others to say that ICE should be abolished.
So the mayor wants to see ICE abolished. Just like he said in the past, he wants to see big changes at the NYPD, which reveals what we're really witnessing here with all of this anti-ICE hatred coming out in a midterm election year. This is the front lines of the anti-law enforcement agenda, which is actually an attack on all of us, because the police exist to defend the rights of the law-abiding. But if you get rid of them, if you downsize them, if you tell them to stop enforcing the law, whether that's local law or whether that's immigration law, you take away the rights of the law-abiding and you put them in danger. And the reason these things are so popular in sanctuary cities is because the enabling of lawless behavior does something special for the political folks that support such initiatives. It gets rid of the people who oppose them, giving them permanent political power. But are the American people really going to be on board with this sort of thing?
Democrats, when it comes to immigration, where are Democrats failing? And
where are Democrats failing? Because look at this. You got a 15-point switcheroo right right? Republicans are doing something right in the voters' minds, but more than that, Democrats are doing something wrong. What do voters want from Democrats? They want them to moderate. That's what they want. They want Democrats to move to the center on immigration. Immigration, Dems should move to the center. We're talking about 59% of all voters. But more than that, look at this. There is wide agreement across socioeconomic classes and racial and ethnicity classes. Look at this. 51% of black voters, 54% of Latino voters, 59% of white college voters, and 67%, let's come over to Erica's side of the screen, 67% of white non-college voters all agree they want Democrats to move to the center on immigration. Just 18% of voters want Democrats to shift to the left on immigration. So part of this is Donald Trump and the Republican Party and what they're implementing on immigration, but it's also what Democrats are offering. And at this point, what Americans think and voters think that Democrats are offering, they are offering an agenda that is too far to the left on immigration.
And it's not changing. Mayors like Mr. Mamdani in New York City, they're not going to moderate their position on immigration. They want to abolish ICE right now. They say ICE does absolutely nothing to keep our country safe, but Americans don't believe that. Americans think if somebody breaks the country's laws and comes into the country without permission, there should be some sort of consequence. That's the moderate position here, is that there should be a consequence for breaking the law, not zero consequence. And people understand that law and order here starts at the country's border and then makes its way into the communities inside the country, because the less fugitives and the less criminals you have entering the country without permission, the less crime dangerous individuals are going to commit once they're here. It's very simple, but the opposite of this is happening in New York. This is a place that enables criminals. This is a place that tells them that they will be protected, not only from the federal government if they break immigration law, but also from the consequences of pretty much any criminal act they want to commit. Where else do you see all of the products at CVS locked up like this, where the entire store is glass? This is happening in these sanctuary cities that enable criminals because their local laws won't put people in jail for things like stealing. And they let them out of jail just in time for the next riot, which could be in the middle of Times Square or the middle of Central Park. Doesn't matter. These things are happening everywhere. But here's what you have to understand. After President Trump won a massive election, something happened which perfectly explains why you have people who are not moderating their positions in these sanctuary cities and the rest of the country looking at this, moving away from it. You have a great divergence here, and this is very interesting, and it really tells you where the country is headed over the next couple of months.
Abolished. What do you say to people who say language, and there's Democrats in DC who say language like abolish ICE or unhelpful for the political health of the Democratic Party?
I think if we've listened to them before and look where we are. I think it's time to develop a new vision for this party, one that is unflinching in its beliefs.
New
and
vision.
also
A new vision for the party, which is not going to be a moderate vision at all. And there's a very important reason for that. How did Mr. Mamdani get elected? He ran proclaiming that he was a socialist. He did not hide that, and the voters were like, we want that. And he also said he wants to abolish ICE. He's been saying that the entire time. And the voters here in New York were like, we want that. But the rest of America, as we just saw, doesn't want that. And the reason this happened is because after Trump won the presidency, all of the socialist energy in America, it had to go somewhere. But where's it going to go? It's not coming to Florida. It's not coming to places that voted overwhelmingly for a secure border and a great country. No, it's got to go to these places, these hot.
There's a lot of local people there to protest peacefully, and they certainly can do that. But the violence, majority of violence, not all the majority is coming from out of town.
Now, what does that mean in the context of the Newark, New Jersey ICE facility? Who's out of town? Well, that would be people just across the water in New York City. And this Newark ICE facility serves the needs of the New York City area. So you've got people converging on this local area where you have this facility, and they're coming from everywhere. They're coming from all of these radical hotbeds. They're coming from all these places that are the last strongholds of socialist energy in America that repulse most Americans who don't want communism, want to own their own home, don't want to have it taken away by the government, want to have law and order, want to have safe streets. They're coming here. They're causing chaos, and the governors and the politicians that think they're benefiting from this, that think they're creating some sort of mass movement in our country, they're about to find out the hard way that that is not allowed. And you know something very interesting? The crowds at this year's riots are very thin. They do not have hordes of individuals. We're not talking about thousands of people like we saw last summer at this facility, and that's because these groups that are being funded by all these nonprofits that have been getting cut off from the federal piggy bank, they don't have the money they used to have. to stage these uprisings.
So New York is saying abolish ICE and zero cooperation.
Zero.
The governor and mayor teaming up to make sure that with the progress you were making with Eric Adams is going to just disappear. So what's going to be your approach to New York? You're going to stay away now?
No, I don't keep my promise to Governor Hochul. I met with Governor Hochul a couple months ago. I explained to her how we dealt with Minnesota, right? If we can work with the sheriffs and arrest a bad guy in the safety and security of the jail, that means less teams into the neighborhoods, which causes a lot of panic, a lot of problems, right? I said, but if you sign the legislation that I think you're getting about ready to sign, that means I'm going to send more agents to New York, because now rather than one guy arresting one bad guy in a jail, now we got to send a whole team into the neighborhood to find this person that didn't want to be found, because officer safety reasons, now we got to arrest this guy in his turf. He has access to no weapons. I told her it's safer for the community. It's safer for the officers. It's safer for the aliens to have these cooperations with the jails.
Well, that's not going to happen anymore. And to understand why there's going to be a new surge of ICE agents in New York, you have to look at what New York just did, because you see New York has sanctuary cities like the city itself, which don't cooperate with ICE and won't allow ICE into the jails. But there are counties around New York that will allow that. And one of those is Nassau County. They've got all kinds of agreements with ICE to go in there and arrest gang members and fugitives. They let them into the jails. They tell ICE when they've got a dangerous criminal. But now that's no longer allowed. Now the entire state is locked into sanctuary state status. And now these cooperation agreements, any arrangements between ICE and a local sheriff or local police force, that's all off the table right now. If a federal fugitive gets arrested anywhere in the state of New York, no one's allowed to tell the federal government. And those people can now remain on the streets and get released by our revolving door jails and our soft on crime courts and go right back to doing what they were doing. That directly makes New York a haven for criminals. And you've essentially abolished ICE. The government are already being preached to be this illegal breach of the freedoms of 3 million immigrants. Meanwhile, there's no differentiation made between people who are in the country legally and who have done things the right way and people who break America's laws and are here without permission. And this is all on purpose, but we're seeing everything, the full court press, so to speak, to make it look like America is being taken over by some rogue federal agency when that's not the case at all. Instead, it's being taken over by criminals in these sanctuaries. And here's how this connects to socialism. Enabling lawlessness and enabling the destruction and theft of private property just helps the government do it. Because if you've got people that own a school bus company or own an apartment building or own some sort of business, well, in a socialist regime, those folks are the oppressors. Those folks are the enemy. And if the mobs want to take their anger out on it, so what? In fact, that just justifies the local government for coming along and seizing that business or seizing that property, because nobody here believes in private wealth. Nobody here believes that some private company should create jobs and pay people to do something so that they can live on their own apart from the government. Nope. Because once that starts happening, these folks that are supposed to be the oppressors and the problem with society actually become the saviors of it. They actually save people by creating jobs from a life of poverty, which is what socialism is going to give them, which is why socialism can't have any competition, and why politicians that say they proclaim this are totally not against riots targeting the federal government or targeting businesses. So what? It actually helps them. At least that's what they think.
We have heard time and again threats of increases in immigration enforcement across our city. I want to be very clear about the fact that I believe that ICE raids are cruel. They are inhumane.
Bro, 6-pack, 6 colors, multifunctional pockets, and they're actually comfortable. For this price, the 6-pack is such a smart summer grab because you get 6 colors, the pockets are practical, and
they do nothing to serve in the interest.
Give me a break where you just, oh man, he is evil.
The public safety. I've shared that directly with the president. I've shared that in public. It is a feeling that many New Yorkers share. And I also do believe that ICE as an entity is one that should be abolished and that we should return to an immigration system that has more humanity at the heart of it. And
so, okay, if you abolish the enforcement mechanism for America's immigration system, if you just totally get rid of it, then there's going to be no enforcement. So that must be what the mayor of New York City means when he says we need to return to an immigration system that has more humanity in it. What he's talking about is zero enforcement. And when he says return, how far back in the past would he be talking about if he's talking about returning to a system that has more humanity in it? Well, he's just talking about 2020 to 2024 when the border was wide open and when ICE wasn't allowed to arrest anybody who was here without permission. So what they want is the most recent humane immigration system we had, which wasn't a system at all. It was just, there was no enforcement. That's not a system. That doesn't work. That doesn't protect people. That allows criminals to get into your sanctuary. But again, as we've seen, that's not a problem at all for these politicians who just want to demonize those who are in charge of a consequence and those who wear a badge.
You know, as much as this is an off-topic question, we're also discussing the World Cup. The World Cup is supposed to be a celebration of the world as a whole. And some of the decisions that we've seen been taken by the federal administration, be it the denial of visas for journalists from certain countries, or the rejection of a visa for a coach of a team, as well as single-day visas for specific foreign national teams. This is anathema to what this tournament is supposed to be about.
Okay, so if the World Cup is some amazing thing and we should all be so excited about it, how do you have the World Cup if none of the countries involved in the World Cup have borders? How do you even know what countries are playing if they don't have immigration systems? And why does America have to be the only country in this tournament that doesn't have one? That's what's so fascinating about all of this rhetoric. It's eloquent, but it's wrong. And that's the problem with all of this. It sounds great. Sounds like it's all sewn together very well, but these points make absolutely no sense. We don't have a World Cup unless countries have borders. It's so bizarre. But now we're seeing the battle lines being drawn. We're seeing a division between the socialist strongholds of America and the rest of the country, where people obviously want these politicians to moderate, which they're not going to do because at the local level, they benefit from all of this. What do you think about that? I'll see you in the next video.
Okay, that was a big one today from Cash. All right, we got one more big one I'm going to play. Then the rest of them, I'm going to do short ones. Trisha video, 30 minutes on The View. Yep, thank you, share that, Maria. Moving right along here. Oh, I got to show you this. This is credit to Patriot Princess channel. What do you guys think of that? Green means go. So shout out to Patriot Princess for finding that.
Auto quality.
When I see how The View is trying to reinterpret the world, and then they're met with facts and they can't quite accept those facts, I think that these all things they're really linked. I mean, they're really linked. The rhetoric that you have coming out of the mainstream media, and yes, this is mainstream, okay? It's broadcast TV, ladies and gentlemen, and this is what we get there, okay? Let's go to our first clip of J.D. Vance trying to level these ladies.
I never saw this thing.
One after another. He can't even get a word in. Watch.
What did Black people do to this administration that has allowed it to really stigmatize folks of color? And you know how hard it is. You have folks of color in your family.
Sure.
So when you see, things, the Emmett Till stuff coming down, or them doing all kinds of removal of information of Black heroes.
Excuse me?
How does that sit with you?
Well, what exactly are you talking about, Whoopi? Because you just I know Emmett Till was the kid. No, I want to know what she's.
You don't know what I'm talking about.
Your actual point.
So in a lot of the museums, there's so many. Where they're taking down the actual history that happened in this country. Slavery happened. All kinds of stuff happened. And it seems that it has been very easy for this administration to remove that, and also to denigrate Black folks who have worked their behinds off to get this American dream. How do you, you know better.
So Sonny, that was actually a very helpful intervention, because I think the story you're talking about is where allegedly the administration is holding back the appointments of people based on skin color. I've seen the story.
I'm talking about a host of things. I'm talking about Black history getting erased from public spaces.
Okay, so they're alleging that Black history is being erased. She brought up Emmett Till. If you could figure out that question, I mean, I think the question was basically, why don't you respect Black people, etc. But for the record, Emmett Till and his memorial, you know what? The memorial still stands. The memorial is alive and well. And so if you ask me, once again, we got Whoopi Goldberg effectively spreading fake news. So there's a Greenwood statue. It was put up in 2022. Of course, because we're suddenly rediscovering all this stuff that can try and divide us, as opposed to, triumphing what this nation overcame and the successes of Black Americans. I mean, look, don't get me wrong. I mean, this is a horrible story. And this kid was basically killed by a couple of thugs because he apparently whistled at a white woman who was 21 years old. He was like 14, 15 years old. And so they decided to erect this statue of him in Greenwood, Mississippi. It was, basically placed near this area where I guess this kid had been abducted back in 1955. But I just want to confirm with you that this statue is still there. In fact, not only is the statue there, but in 23, President Biden decided to designate the Emmett Till and Mamie Till Mobley National Monument, which is 3 sites in Illinois and in Mississippi, about 5.7 acres. And this is actually a national park designation. It's not a single statue, and that's there too. So what exactly was Whoopi talking about? Fake news. Okay, fake news, because there was a story about a year ago saying the national monument honoring this kid might be taken down. Might be. Okay, this is all like theoretical stuff. So I guess that was her question. I couldn't really tell. Could you? I mean, it was like run on stream of consciousness without any real direction. You know what? I have new respect for J.D. Vance. I got to tell you, I have way more respect for him today than I did yesterday. I mean, I've always respected the guy, of course. He's our vice president. But anybody who had to sit through this with these ladies and the nonsense getting thrown at you, let's go back to J.D.
A host of things. I'm talking about Black history getting erased from public spaces. Black voter districts are being dismantled. Black leaders are being sidelined from our ranks. Where do Americans of color fit in this vision? Because it doesn't seem like we fit.
I think, Sonny, my view.
And if I may, since
you see another one's coming in. Ana Navarro was like, and if I may say so. It's like he can't answer anything because they're all pounding on him. Okay, just for the record, too. They're not erasing anyone. We went through that. Okay, the statue's still there. Yes, they're getting rid of some of the DEI ideology because guess what? It's illegal. Illegal. It's actually a violation of the Civil Rights Act. Imagine that. Harvard had to learn that one the hard way. I'm sorry. You know what? Like, it's a new day and age, and in a real meritocracy, you're not looking at things like skin color. And they equate that with being erased. Are you kidding me?
And if I may, since October of last year, there's been something like 6,668 refugees allowed into the country. All but 3 were white South Africans.
So, first of all,
you can't hear me, can you? Let me go back and check. I hope you can hear me now. Can you guys hear me okay? I'm going to check. Sometimes we have little audio issues as I tinker with this studio and I try to play around with it. Hopefully you can hear me. You can hear me, right? Can you? I think you can. All right. Tell me. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Give it a like if you can hear me. And I know you don't want to hear these ladies, but again, it's kind of important to understand how whacked out all of this is. So you know that DEI is illegal. It's actually what's going to take down ABC. All right, don't forget the FCC's case is actually based not on any kind of bias or anything. It's based on their DEI nonsense that they got going on at Disney and at ABC. So Jimmy Kimmel, watch out. They're coming for you too, especially after the latest joke, which we're going to get to. But back to JD.
And if I may, since October of last year, there's been something like 6,668 refugees allowed into the country. All but 3 were white South Africans.
So first of all, I'm very skeptical of that number because we have a lot of different immigration pathways in the United States of America. But let me just address Whoopi's point. Look, first of all, you asked the question, and maybe you don't believe this coming from me, but I think everybody is welcome in our political coalition. Frankly, even if you didn't vote for us, everybody is welcome in our country so long as you're an American citizen with the duties and the legal obligations and rights to be here. But Whoopi, let me just give you an example of this. Okay, so you say that we're anti-minority or anti-black.
No, I didn't say that. I asked. See?
Well, okay, fine. Be fair.
Don't start any stuff with me, man. Don't get me in trouble.
Oh, God. Give me a break.
Just like, did you hear that? She's like, I didn't ask that. You have my question wrong. I didn't ask that, but wait a second, you did. Okay, Whoopi, you did. I realize, there's a lot going on in that head of yours, and you can't actually follow a line of logic from A to B to C to D. I realize it's A to Z and back to B. I realize this woman does not think in any kind of linear way. I don't know how she has this job. Honest to goodness, I do not know. Oh, was this DEI? I wonder. All right. Well, let's give her a little fact check, shall we? Voila.
What did Black people do to this administration that has allowed it to really stigmatize folks of color?
You say that we're anti-minority or anti-black.
No, I didn't say that. I asked. See?
Well, okay, fine. Be fair.
What did Black people do to this administration that has allowed it to really stigmatize folks of color?
Okay. You heard the question. I heard the question. JD heard the question. He's too nice. Okay? Like, he is just way too nice. We got to get Marco on there, guys. Because, Marco would have shredded them. Like, really shredded them. I know he's coming back with facts and he's trying to do his best. But he would have been like, okay, no, you stop talking because I have to answer this question. And your question, go back and play the tape, was basically what I just said. And now you're trying to reinterpret your question. By the way, he went on to answer it. And he didn't even answer what he thought her question was. Like, it's like just being made up on the fly. I got to tell you, yes, he presented them with facts. Yes, he shredded them. Yes, they were stunned. But the producer in me, the television producer in me would really have preferred to see a little bit more combativeness in that he did not need to take any of the crapola. All right. And I was talking to some of my friends. I'm like, did you see any of this? Because they were sending me some clips. And I was like, yeah, but I think JD, first of all, one, it's beneath him to go on that. I think we all agree on that. You don't need to go on that show. Forget it. They're there to kind of make their own case. And unless you're going to fight back hard, like, the president would have done, and by the way, I know Marco Rubio would have done, I don't know as it's necessarily worth your time. I think he's trying to better educate the public, but you know what this probably did? If I'm ABC, I'm actually kind of worried right now. If I am the new management at Disney, I'm a little bit worried right now.
A new one. I guess I got to do the short ones whenever we can. I don't know if I go to 4 o'clock. Well, whatever the 3 hour marker is. I got a Mark Z and John Downing video, you guys, and I checked with Kay and Fine Eagle about that one. Supposed to be good.
Because they embarrassed themselves so badly with their lack of knowledge about everything. I mean, it was just like one fact check after another. I keep having them. I mean, I can't play the whole show because none of us want to sit through that. But I think that suffice it to say, these ladies have an agenda. And you don't need to be part of that agenda ever. And I think this agenda should be called out, but you got to go in really, really armed. In other words, she brought up the thing on the 1955 kid and the statue, et cetera. And then it got thrown into the air and he was never able to come back and say, well, that's not true. That statue still exists. And he even tried to help her out, and help the viewers out so that people could understand who it was that she was even talking about. Because I guarantee you, that's not just a household name that you rattle off the tip of your tongue. So there's a lot here that, he could have, should have, would have done. He needs to get out there a little bit more and get this experience being combative. He also took back his cat lady comment, which I don't know, I thought it was kind of funny at the time. And I think you don't need to apologize to these people. Forget it. Don't apologize to them. You kill them with facts, kindly, with facts. Okay, to another JD clip.
All right. Get me in trouble.
I misinterpreted your question,
That's
but
right.
let me answer your actual question there. What I'm saying, I think, okay, look at Washington, D.C. One of the most democratic and one of the blackest, by share of population, blackest cities in the United States of America, has seen a radical decrease in violent crimes and sexual assaults and in murders. We have tried to take the crime issue seriously, in part because we believe everybody, whether you're black or white or rich or poor, deserves to live in a safe neighborhood.
Why does the crime? Where does the crime step in? This is not about crime. This is about
women lost their jobs.
Right. This is about human
Sonny,
rights.
What you're saying is we got to do more on the economy.
Black history has been erased from public
Black history is not erased from public spaces.
We get to Iran when we get back. Some very important news to
I'm
get
telling you, we celebrate Black history. We celebrate all American history in this administration. You guys might be skeptical of this, but I promise you,
I have to go to break. Anna, God, please, we have more with Vice President J.D. Vance when we come back.
They're awful. They are just absolutely, positively awful. And yeah, he told him it hasn't been erased. And by the way, so long as we're on the topic, if you really want to get into it, guess which party freed the slaves in America? Guess which party put in Lincoln? Guess which party wanted to make sure that we had a real meritocracy and equality? It was not the Democrats, okay? For the record, not the Democrats. Unbelievable. I mean, it just makes my blood boil. I mean, and then there was the immigration stuff. Okay, so you heard, we're not bringing in enough diversity. And how is it that why did we do that to Venezuela? Why did we take out Maduro? Why? Why? I'm sorry, ladies. You have a bad actor who's bad for his people, who's bad for America, and who is courting the Chinese, the Iranians, and the Russians right here about 2.5 hours from Miami. And you think it's worth keeping him there? Given what he's done to his people, I mean, you are some sick individuals if you think that is an administration, a regime that we should be welcoming, especially when they're sending all those people upwards towards the US of A with our open borders, and we suddenly are dealing with Tren de Agua. Are you kidding me? In Colorado? I don't think so. So they got busted on this one.
Who used to work and be my colleague that have tried to find evidence of that. There is no evidence that Maduro was releasing people from insane asylums or jails like Fidel Castro did do. This was made up, and we just can't, accept it without pushing back.
Anna, we know that there were people who were released from prisons who were encouraged to come into the United States.
It wasn't like it was in the Mariel, Mr. Vice President. It wasn't where it was like a purposeful release, open up the jails, open up the insane asylums, and let people flood Florida. I've been through that in Miami.
If you go, it may not have been like Mariel, but if you go back to the caravans that were happening in 22, 23, we know that those things were funded. They were in some ways supported by the government.
There was absolutely,
so I don't know how you define support or not support, but if people are encouraged to come into our country after having spent time in prison by their own governments, I think.
Yeah. Again, for the record, J.D. Vance is right. Maduro released criminals into the United States. The Tren de Aragua gang originated in a Venezuelan prison. Thousands of Venezuelan criminals actually encountered or were encountered at the U.S. border. We also had the Tocoron prison raid. I think that was back in 2022. Was that it? And you had gang leaders there from TDA, and all those members and top honchos were allowed to escape. So yes, the Trump administration designated TDA as a terrorist organization, giving them thereby a lot of power to go in and deal with Maduro. But I'll tell you, everybody was trying to deal with Maduro. I happen to know this story inside and out. I've been around it forever. I mean, one of the first countries I traded in sovereign debt markets at Goldman Sachs in the year 1999 was Venezuela, okay, when Chavez first came into power. And I can tell you, we had a real problem there. And it kept metastasizing and got worse and worse. And you know how many times we tried to take out Chavez twice. We tried to get rid of Maduro. We tried to put Juan Guaido in. Didn't happen. So guess what? Every administration on both sides of the aisle was trying to do this. Tell Sonny, would you? Okay, so Tocolón, the prison in the northwest part of Venezuela, 23, I think I was right, 2023, I said. Maduro sent these 11,000 troops to retake that prison, but somehow he allowed for all those gang leaders to get out. And the top one, he was like Nino Guerrero, he was one of the senior members. He got tipped off about the raid. He was allowed to get out. So long answer or short answer, however you want to see it, is, hey, Sonny, Maduro was allowing the bad guys out of the prison saying, go on, you can go to America. Not to mention every other country down there was like, oh, we got all these bad people, but can't we just send them to America and make it America's problem? I mean, after all, they do have an open border courtesy of Biden and Kamala Harris. And that is what happened. That is what they did. And so now here we are having to deal with the Cleanup Act. And by the way, this administration has done a heck of a job with the Cleanup Act. But think about what's going on, about the rhetoric that you're hearing on that show, about the rhetoric that you're hearing from some of the lefties over on, what was it called, the Miz network now. I mean, they had to get rid of some of these lefties because they were so bad. Joy Reid comes to mind. I mean, the kind of rhetoric was so hateful out of these places. It was so wrong. And then when you look at the horrible things that are happening, right? When you think about the 23 individuals, those radicals that are getting busted by Art, very talented FBI, kudos to Kash Patel. I mean, this would have been awful, right? And they busted them on the 10th. They found out about this through signal messages. We're going to go through this because it's unbelievable how they did it all. But this was one of the big problems. And then on top of it, you get all these media nut jobs like Jimmy Kimmel, almost encouraging it. So if you get a 19-year-old that's out there, it's on the fence, you have him listening to Jimmy Kimmel. I don't know if any 19-year-old listens to Jimmy Kimmel. I don't know if anybody listens to Jimmy Kimmel, actually. Maybe it's part of Jimmy Kimmel's problem. But if you hear this kind of rhetoric from The View or from Kimmel, you really start to, I guess, allow for that hate to creep in. And what's tragic about it is none of that hate is real. When they're spinning stuff and giving you made up facts and it's not real, I mean, granted, they're allowed to have their opinion. They're allowed to be wrong, right? We have a First Amendment. However, hate to remind them, they're over at ABC. And what do you think ABC is? Network television controlled by the FCC and the 1934 Communications Act. More on that coming up. But first, a quick shout out to one of our good, wonderful new sponsors here on the show. I'll tell you, I can never get enough insurance. You know why? I run scared. Life is a funny way of sneaking up on you, doesn't it? I mean, I have 3 kids now, a wonderful husband. You want to protect your family. You want to protect your loved ones. And I don't care if it's whole life or term life, whatever you can do to make sure that you have life insurance, you got to be making sure that you're doing that. You know, you think you've got all the time in the world. You think you can get everything in order. You think about those important conversations. Getting a lot of attention. The View's getting a lot of attention. So Jimmy's like, well, I get some sharp elbows too. He decided to make a stupid joke. Another stupid joke. I mean, this guy just can't help himself. He's got like 40 writers and all they do is come up with stupid jokes. Kind of amazing. I mean, that's almost a talent in and of itself. Think about it. I mean, you keep striking out like that. You strike out so badly, your ratings are going down. You're costing your network money. And then you sit there and say, well, they can't fire me. They can't fire me. I'm Jimmy Kimmel. You know, I'm Jimmy Kimmel and I'm here to stay because I am the opposition. You know, your show's really not supposed to be a political show. It's really not. And if it is going to be a political show, why not just take aim at both sides? Why does it always have to be one side all the time? Well, at this moment, ABC once again is seeing a chorus of people that are saying, take that guy off the air, get rid of him, get rid of him, get rid of him. And they're doing this because he made a really stupid joke about Ivanka and her dad. And, I'll read it to you. Here we go. He said that the UFC announcer had mistakenly billed Melania as First Lady Ivanka to viewers on the UFC Freedom 250 the night before, and it happened to be on his 80th birthday. And so Kimmel cut to the clip and said, the First Lady Ivanka? What? And then he quipped, I guess somebody's birthday wish came true. The joke was, of course, referencing this long record of comments about her looks and her physique, Ivanka's attractiveness. And it's just really poor taste, right? Like, it's just beyond poor taste. I don't know what the word is for, well, we won't use such explicit language here today, but, it's really, he's just down in the gutter. He's in the sewer, and it's unnecessary. Like, you really don't need to do that. And if I were him, I might try and just be a little bit more thoughtful about what I'm saying. Don't forget, it comes on the heels of what he said that Melania was so upset about, joking about how she might be a widow. And then he didn't even have the decency to take that joke down or to, apologize or anything after there was an attempt on the president's life there at the Washington Correspondents' Dinner last month. I mean, there was that. And then there was, the Charlie Kirk situation, right? And that was just awful. People were demanding he was going to be off the air. So now today, more calls for Jimmy Kimmel to come off the air. They have ensued. It's months after he, of course, made the remark about MAGA in the wake of Charlie's death. The Daily Mail reporting this. Melania saw the April sketch as hateful and violent. Understandably, she released a statement about it. You remember all that? And he was like, "Oh, no, it was just a joke about, your May, December time gap there, between your ages." I mean, it was really, really unnecessary in light of what ensued. And again, the decent thing to have done would have been to apologize, but he didn't. And so I think this is kind of catching up with him. I mean, I think about what's happening at The View and all the misinformation, disinformation that they're spouting regularly with no counterbalance. I mean, they had JD on, but it was 5 against 1? Really? That's appropriate? I mean, I guess in cable, you can have shows like The Five and you put poor Jessica on there with her vocal fry trying to, fire back at Jesse and Greg, and it's not really working, right? But that's fine. It's entertainment and, so be it. But, this is actually produced by the news division. And so they just have one side echoed all the time. And there's a difference. I keep saying this between cable and network. Okay. I've worked at both and now I'm over here. And there's a difference with all of this as well. Heck, I don't have to deal with a prompter. I don't have to deal with management. I don't have to deal with, managing a team of 40 people. It's actually really fun and refreshing and all those good things. But I have a certain leeway over here that you don't have at network television. You just don't have. And you have a leeway at cable that you don't have at network, which is why I keep citing the 1934 Communications Act and reminding these guys, you know what, you're in trouble. But I'll tell you this, you know what? Brandon Carr, who's now head of the FCC, and he's not messing around. He knows all about the 1934 Communications Act, but he doesn't even need to use that. You know why? Because Disney did it to themselves with their DEI. Their DEI, which is against the law. Yeah. So in their hiring practices, they allegedly would only hire people of certain color. And if you didn't fit whatever color they were looking for that month, you didn't get the gig. That's the concern. Now, I've heard this anecdotally from friends that have worked at Disney and friends that have worked at ABC. And so what the feds are trying to do right now is prove all this out. And as a result of this case against ABC that the FCC brought, guess what? All 8 owned and operated ABC affiliates have had to reapply for their television license. And they may not get it. They may not get it because you got people like those at The View, and then you got this little joker over here. The criticism, the Daily Mail did point out, has not just been confined to the Trump family. You've had conservatives like reality star turned LA mayoral candidate Spencer Pratt being a butt of the jokes, and then the new Homeland Security head Mark Mullen also facing regular mockery. You see, there is a theme, though. Kamala Harris doesn't get this. Joe Biden didn't get this. It's only the people on the right that are getting. I don't see him going after Ilhan Omar. And by the way, I'm telling you, you want to have a joke that was just written for you? All you had to do was play it. World War XI. World War XI, you know what I'm talking about. Heck, I could be a comedy writer at this point. I mean, I look at some of the things that the left does and the left says. And it's just, it's just made for TV, made for television, baby. I mean, Ilhan Omar, she's the gift that keeps giving. And World War XI was a perfect example of it. Oh, you know what? We actually have the joke. Do you want to see the joke? Anybody want to see that? Well, let's. I know you don't really want to see it, but again, it's important to understand all that's out there and hear from the other side, because you need to know why you're so mad at them and why Jimmy Kimmel has jumped the shark. Here we go.
This is why most 80th birthday parties happen at noon. He did wake up for the big upset of the night when Justin Gagey beat Ilia Torpilla, and afterwards, or something like that, brought his mother in to meet the first family.
What a moment for Carolina Gagey, an amazing woman, getting to meet President Trump and the First Lady Ivanka.
The First Lady Ivanka? What? I guess somebody's birthday wish came true.
Okay. Think about his grotesque, twisted, perverted sense of humor.
Okay. That was a big one today from Trisha. So I got 2 7-minute ones. I'm going to play one more. I got 2 new John Downing and Mark Z video. And there's another one that I showed Friday ago. He said it was good. But I'm going to play 2 7 and one 20-minute one, and I'll take a break and come back at 7. Chemtrails. You want to see this? I just found it. Interesting video. What do you guys think of this one? Thanks, Andrew. I just found it. Yeah, it sure is, Kay. This model. Gonna fall asleep. That was cool. Shout out to this guy. He's good. First time playing him. It's your East. So I'll keep an eye on that channel. See if there's any more of that. One more 7-minute one with a UFO, guys. And then the last one will be one of the John Downing videos. Oh, they're not going to let me play this one. Darn it. They're not going to let me play this one, so I'm going to... Well, we're already at the 2-hour mark, so I'm going to play both of the Mark Z, or both of the 20-minute John Downing. I think this one, the first one, Brian Eagle said this is a good one.
Chrome, it installs in seconds.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the monthly podcast.
Oh, actually,
this friend, returning brother, Mr.
I think we're just going to do this one because it's 52 minutes, you guys. So this will, I think it's a good one to play. And we're going to wrap it up after this one, so that will give us the 3-hour mark. Very important one, I think.
Joe Williams, the one and only, decorated military vet and former Houston police officer / detective, joining us for our monthly podcast where we always chop it up on financial and geopolitical matters, as you know, and we think the world of him, and for some reason he just keeps coming back, and we're grateful for that. And on this very ceremonious Juneteenth day, which he's got a very interesting and poignant point to bring up about that, which is something I wasn't familiar with, and maybe some of you weren't either. You'll find out today. So if you're new to the podcast, please do like, subscribe, and share. Helps the channel grow. Others to gain the knowledge you're currently being afforded. As you know, as I said, Joe is a former military vet, retired, and also former Houston PD / detective. And he's continuing his patriotic, militaristic efforts here as a truther in the community with his handle Condition Based. So please do go check out his channel. I've been on there in the past. It's really good. And we want to give our props to Amina as well, who supports the channel as well. So I'm pleased to have him back as always. How you doing this morning, brother?
Man, blessed, man. I'm on the right side of the ground, so I'm good.
There you go. Another day is a good day, right? A God day, as you always tell me. So while you're putting together your stuff to show, you just told me something off camera that I think is really important and poignant for people to hear, the significance of Juneteenth and how one part of the country, particularly in the North, thinks of it one way, but in the South, where you are, it means something altogether different. Can you share that, please?
Yeah, someone at my door, and they would arrive at the door right when I was getting ready to begin. Hold on just a sec. I'm going to have to mute just for a second.
Okay.
Yeah, let me mute just for a second.
No problem. So go ahead. Tell us the story if you would, please.
Well, in 1863, the slaves were freed through the Emancipation Proclamation. Now, in 1865, word of the Emancipation Proclamation didn't make it to the South until then. And so this was Galveston, 1865, most of the southern states being Texas, Louisiana, I think Mississippi, parts of Mississippi, the lower parts, Florida, in that lower Gulf region, they found out that they found out that we were freed, like I said, 2 years later. And so ever since then, the Black community has been celebrating Juneteenth, but it's a Southern holiday. They changed it to a national holiday to pander to the African American community, thinking that, hey, we need to do this for the Black folk. We're wrong, because there are a lot. I say at least 80% of most northern states don't know anything about Emancipation Proclamation, they know about the Emancipation Proclamation, but they don't know anything about Juneteenth. And that's the reason why we celebrate Juneteenth. But of course, the Biden administration, I call him faux hiding, because he's not Joe Biden, but he's faux hiding. He's fake, and he's always hiding. Think that they thought that, hey, let's use this to pander to try to get more Black votes. Unfortunately, it's making the Black community look bad because of that. And I still celebrate it. I'll probably cook some. Me and my sister's going to do later, because I don't know if I'm going to be able to do anything, because I feel like crap, to be honest with you. But other than that, yeah, that's what that holiday's for. So don't think that it was something that Biden thought of himself or something like that. No, it's a Southern holiday, and it belongs to the South. So for them to actually even do that is crazy.
Yeah, that was a bit of an eye opener, to say the least. It's unconscionable, really, in every sense. So thank you for sharing that. Just thought it was apropos with for the day that we're shooting this on Juneteenth. So you had some, as always, you have some videos you wanted to share. So if you would please, the floor is yours.
Having
All right. Now, I'm not sure if you can see what screen are you looking at now?
Looks at the TikTok
screen. Yes. Okay. Maybe.
On Saturday, Secretary of State Marco Rubio blew the lid off of a 50-year-old conspiracy. He said that the destruction of the American economy was deliberate.
Deindustrialization was not inevitable. It was a conscious policy choice, a decades-long economic undertaking that stripped our nations of their wealth, of their productive capacity, and of their independence.
He's right. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't market forces. It was a plan written down 50 years ago, and today we're going to give you the receipts. Now, you've seen the reports about the U.S.-European face-off at Munich, how the globalists marched a lineup of failing European leaders and American has-beens and wannabes onto the stage to challenge President Trump. But even the pro-MAGA coverage of Marco Rubio's powerful speech missed the bombshell that the deindustrialization was deliberate. Now, we didn't miss it because we were there in 1977 when the Council on Foreign Relations announced their plan to do it, when they called for, quote, the controlled disintegration of the world economy, unquote. I'm Susan Kokinda, and I was part of the team that exposed that report 50 years ago. So when I heard these words come out of Marco Rubio's mouth, I knew that what we were seeing is the most significant challenge to British imperial policy in modern American history. Now, if this is a fight you want to follow, please hit those like, share, and subscribe buttons so we can stay in touch and we can expand our reach. Here's what I'm going to cover today. First, what Rubio actually said and the panicked reaction from the Europeans who were at the same conference. Second, the 1977 CFR report that laid out the deliberate destruction of sovereign economies, precisely the destruction that Marco Rubio talked about. And third, how Trumponomics is reviving real economic sovereignty.
Okay, that video is ending right there. That's just a Cliff Notes version of what she's going to talk about. I recommend everyone, if you can find Promethean Action on YouTube, Instagram, on pretty much all platforms, I suggest logging in, signing up, give them a follow, and take notes because they break it down. And but here's the thing that I'm not a fan of. What Marco Rubio pretty much told in a semantics type of way of what really happened. And I just wish that they would just call these people who they are, liars. They're liars and thieves. And I just wish they would use those terms as opposed to, politispeak is what I call it.
Yeah.
And
diplomacy.
Right. I mean, you have to sound professional, I guess, in some atmosphere, to some sense. But I brought that up because I like what he said, and I brought that up because I wanted to bring this up right here. Now, one of the things that's going on right now is they're harping on the sixth point of the MOU, Memorandum of Understanding. Right. And what that is, that's basically the agreement that they have with Iran. Now,
everybody okay with this?
Make a note, people, that this is not the peace agreement. The Memorandum of Understanding basically is follow these bullet points. In 60 days, we will come to a 100% full agreement. But this is right here are all points of their surrender that they have to follow in order for them to be brought back to the stage. Now, the one thing that they're harping about is the sixth one. It says the United States of America undertakes the regional partners to develop a definitive mutual agreement plan with at least USD $300 billion for reconstruction and economic development of the Islamic Republic of Iran. The mechanism for the implementation of this plan will be finalized as a part of a final deal within 60 days. All required licenses, waivers, and permissions needed for the relevant financial transaction will be granted by the United States of America. Now they're going to, with all the partners around it, all the surrounding countries, they're going to contribute to this. So it's going to be the United States giving $300 billion. It's going to be totaling $300 billion, but we are going to control the money, is what they're saying in this. But you watch Chuck Schumer, and Chuck Schumer, he puts out a tweet saying that while I'm talking to you, I'll go ahead and go to it. He puts out a tweet saying that no, Trump is lying. He's the one that said that we're going to be giving away $300 billion, which is incorrect.
While you're finding that, Joe, I just want to weigh in on something, if I may, real quick. On that 6th bullet point, I covered this on a podcast earlier this week. You may have seen it. I think it was with SG, if I'm not mistaken. That $300 billion is misleading because it looks like it's all going to Iran, but it's not. It's going to the neighboring nations, Qatar, UAE, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, all the nations that are Lebanon, any and all nations within the whole of the Middle East that were affected by these missiles and drone strikes as part of this distraction for the regime change we're seeing with the reset and coming, which we'll talk about in a little bit. That money is being siphoned out to all these different countries. So it's not just going to Iran. And that's the part they're not telling everyone.
Oh, no, they won't tell you. This is the Democrat Party. They won't tell you.
Of course not.
What the truth is.
Right.
But, they want to mislead you. That way they can continue to control you.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Chuck Schumer put out the very next day after he signed the memorandum. It says right here, Trump is claiming that there's no $300 billion payment to Iran by the U.S. These are his handwriting initials. He shouldn't read his own memo of understanding. And the thing about, he should read his own memo of understanding. Well, the thing about memorandum of understanding is it's a memorandum of understanding. You have to understand it before you put it out there. And he put the words out here, which is right. But at the same time, he's misinterpreting what Trump is saying, or what
he's twisting it.
They're twisting it, right? That's why I say I wish they would just put the words in there exactly what they are. Just cut some, make some shortcuts.
Well, Joe, we don't even know if we're doing with the real Schmuck Schumer, right? That's probably.
Yeah, that's not real Schmuck Schumer. Chucky's gone.
Yeah, Chucky's not coming back.
Yeah,
and
in this era, Chucky's not in love, so.
That's a good one.
Can't even make a burger. So
maybe Trump's allowing him to do this to expose him, to show how inept he's always been, so people can see it.
Yeah, we want to talk about it also on how there are so many. They say what makes a great movie, and that was one of the things you were talking about. And while you're going to go ahead and show your point, I got to pull that picture up.
Oh, sure.
Picture pulled up of the one we said we were going to talk about.
Oh, yeah. So I'll just, as we always do organically, just go in the moment. I'll round robin to the financial side. I called you last night, Joe, but I know you were busy. So we kind of alluded to it offline in our production prep meeting. But here's some interesting stuff. I just brought this up today on our wrap-up RV report. That'll come up a little later. It'll probably be out by the time this comes out. But anyway, some key breaking news happened. Al-Zaidi, the prime minister of Iraq, is working finally at warp speed to get this cabinet, particularly the senior positions, filled. And he's just appointed Nizar Nasser as the new central bank governor to replace the other corrupt inept one who wasn't doing squat. And so just like here, we're removing the corruption in the U.S., same thing's happening throughout the world. This is significant, Joe, for a number of reasons, because while we're having the corrupt Iranian proxies and militia stand down in Iran, but also the whole of parliament with Iraq that has been subjugating the citizens for far too long, this allows for the banking reforms to happen. So what does that mean, folks? Right now you have the Rafidian and Rashid banks ruling the roost as basically a monopoly within Iraq. This is going to allow all the major tier one banks, your Wells Fargo, Chase, BofA, however you feel about them, I get it, but they need to be able to be players in this so that this exchange can be an actual global thing. Those banking reforms now, with this gentleman coming in, are now essentially 99% complete. There are some other cabinet positions that are being shaken up. So he's moving at, meaning Zaidi, at warp speed to get this government done, possibly by Monday, maybe sooner over the weekend. When they want to move, they move, and their union shop hours are finally up. So we could see Saturday some reports that they've completed the cabinet. What does that mean? Well, once the cabinet's actually completed with people who actually want to get something done, and Joe, you'll smile at this, guess how long this process is taken to complete?
As far as him getting his cabinet together?
Yeah.
What, 2 weeks?
17 years getting around Robin to this process, going back to Maliki,
right.
pre-2009. And yes, the CBI position for the oil and gas law. So this position, this senior position posted the CBI with the banking reforms, is the predecessor to getting the oil. People are like, why can't we get the oil and gas law passed? Because they stalled it. They didn't want it to pass. And these are the steps you have to take to have a godly RV, to then have this oil and gas law, all the important laws, small notes and coins, tax and tariff at the border, et cetera, strong military, blah, 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 to get it in Parliament actually pass. Now, the question becomes, what happens with Maliki? Because they need to take him out with extreme prejudice. He's going to come out and make a stink when this goes. And Israel, as far as this peace deal you're talking about earlier with Iran, this, as far as Israel is concerned, this has got nothing to do with them. They're not part of it. So they're free agent. They can do what they want. And we're betting dollars to donuts that most likely they're going to strike, unless President Trump really is running Israel and he can stop this full scale. And we'll have to see how that plays out. So that's one big piece of information. Here's another piece of information. You know, this gentleman here, Echo on X, was talking about the U.S. debt clock. Like you had the video. I'm only going to play the first minute because people can go and check it out on their own accord. But here's what he's got to say.
The U.S. debt clock literally put it right in front of our faces. Look what it says. Blockchain wins. USA Treasury, 50 state credit union banks. And I put money on it that most people saw this image and thought it was just some type of conspiracy, some psyop. But look at what just happened. The Federal Reserve, OCC, FDIC, FinCEN, and NCUA all just jointly proposed rules for stablecoin issuers. And no, this isn't about them spying on you. This is about bringing stablecoins under the same standard that banks and credit unions already operate under. Because if you think about this logically, institutions won't be moving trillions of dollars into a system that doesn't have identity, that had no compliance, and definitely with no accountability. Read what they're saying. Customer Identification Program, KYC, AML, Bank Secrecy Act requirements. They are creating this whole entire regulated framework so that institutions can safely issue and use stable coins. That right there is massive. And it isn't about crypto replacing America. This is actually America rebuilding its financial infrastructure in blockchain rails. And then now you start asking yourself, who is really building all of this? You know, identity, infrastructure, authentication, stable coins, private subnet, payments, custody, compliance. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is literally the stack that Metallicus has been building this whole entire time. Then you have the metal dollar coming out and saying that these proposed rules reinforce the models that they have been designing since the beginning. Just think about that. The regulations aren't forcing them to change. The regulations are moving towards the model that they have built.
So we'll leave it there because I think you know the rest of it, Joe, and people can watch at their leisure. We also got another piece of information. One of our team members, their brother works at a major bank credit union. He's the CIO and head of the blockchain, basically relations and risk management, you could say. So he's got a duality role. You know about this, Joe. He is basically told us in no uncertain terms that they are going to roll out before the end of this month, which is basically a week from now. And then I just had another conversation with a CEO from another bank that we know well and love, which I can't mention right now, who told me that, and he's on a smaller bank, told me that they're going to be completed by the middle of July. So you start to see, like this gentleman said, the rails snapping into place. One other thing I want to quickly show, Joe, while you're queuing things up, and then I'm going to turn it back to you. This is courtesy of our friend Randy Robinson. I call him affectionately Randy Watson from Coming to America.
31 minutes.
He took a screenshot of this. I just want people to see this. This is from, sorry for the pixelation, it's just how he sent it to me. I told him yesterday that we were talking with Micah from Noble Gold, and they are showing, the U.S. Mint is showing a price revaluation on gold eagles at 1 ounce at 19,600, 10,500 for a half an ounce, and silver eagles at 1,500. So the question we have to ask ourselves is, did the U.S. Mint just leak President Trump's plans to gold revalue by the 4th? Well, we're going to find that out soon, but this is just proof that the U.S. Mint, working for the Treasury, is already putting it out.
Will Medicare pay for your new bathroom?
This benefit is being kept from our senior population, but every senior homeowner has the right to know that it exists. If you're a senior homeowner, you're entitled to a brand.
Back to you.
Yeah, I forgot I muted.
Yeah, I get that.
The lawnmower is right next to my window.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, I was going to ask you that because Amina, of course, she sent me a couple of things that talked about that possible pre-leak of the currency, the price of gold, and thought that it's the exact same thing, and also it talks about how the U.S. Hit the mother lode of 65 billion of white gold discovery in the Appalachian Mountains. So I believe the rate is changing. Let's see if I can show you this. This is part of the leak that came out as well. In this, all right, in the United States Mint. And look at the price of it. And this is for 1/2 ounce. This is a half of an ounce of silver, which is $750. And then that 19.6, which you just showed, it adds up with this. And this is
all good. Remember
1
we were talking
ounce
about
of gold
that
is at
before,
almost
right?
$20,000. So I believe that this is probably what the opening rate would be before it floats, because I really think it's going to float. And then
I agree. Guess what else is going to float, Joe?
The currencies, of course.
Exactly. This is going to be the underlayment, folks, that backs the currencies, cryptos, metals, bonds, you name it, the correct bonds, exotic ones. So you should be rooting for this, because the higher this goes, the better your return on the faith-based blessing that we're all anticipating. Everything is effectuated by this.
And there was another video I was trying to find that, and like I said, I was trying to put everything together. You guys know I'm a last minute Joe because so much stuff going on.
Sure.
But other than that, let me snap back to reality and show you one of the videos that came out just yesterday. I think I sent this to you last night.
Mm-hmm.
And here,
our buddy Barry Sortero.
Yeah, Barry, he's in trouble. He got a lot of
4 o'clock news.
A lot of
4 o'clock news hours here. So here we go.
Chris Hegstrom. I am the Director of Media Relations for the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office. I want to take a moment to welcome a couple people here. Obviously, Sheriff Joe Arpaio, Mike Zullo standing behind, and then sitting down is Bob Corbin, who is the former county attorney, former board of supervisor, former attorney general for the state of Arizona, and past president of the NRA. Thank you for being here, Bob.
And helping Joe.
Right? Today, Sheriff Arpaio and Mike Zullo are going to share information to you on a case that they've been working since August of 2011. Since the beginning of this investigation, you, the media, have continued to mischaracterize the nature of this investigation. So you're going to hear this more than once today, but this investigation was never about where President Obama was born. This is about a document that was presented to the general public through the White House and purported to be a factual document. Today, you're going to hear lots of information that some of you are going to understand and are going to be able to tell the true story. In fact, please know that this is a very technical, but the evidence is clear if you'll pay attention. Please note you're going to hear about two separate experts. These experts are two separate continents with no knowledge of each other, and they draw similar conclusions. Again, that said, I know some of you are going to get this story and are going to tell the story the way it was. However, there's going to be others here today who will continue to malign this sheriff and Mike Zullo in order to show that you haven't been wrong for many years while covering this story. All I ask is that you are respectful during the presentation of the information. Here's Sheriff Joe Arpaio.
All right. Well, it's another minute, so just bear with us. I just wanted to stop it anyway.
Yeah, no, I think people need to see this. This is cool.
This is something that you, like I said, but I don't want to go into the video breakdown portion of it because it's a little long. But this Sheriff Arpaio, he's going to speak and for about 2 minutes. And please listen. I won't even interrupt it because this is very, very, very important.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You know, thank you for showing up. Back in 2011, about 250 members of the surprise Tea Party came to me and asked me to investigate President Obama's birth certificate, since they believed evidence showed that the certificate was a fraud. I agreed to look into the matter, and with Chief Investigator Mike Zullo, we initiated an investigation. At this time, and to this day, I stated that I did not care.
Are they using an old part from a new video? I know this is a new video, but I wonder if this is a brand new update with the birth certificate. I can't remember.
Where the president was born. Had nothing to do with that. But we were going to investigate a possible government forged document. Hope you get that straight. I've been saying that from day one since 2011. Today you will be presented with an in-depth executive
Some people might have missed it.
of our investigation
Right?
into the matter, which we now have concluded to be a fraudulently created document, which has been represented as an official copy of the original birth certificate of President Obama. We and anyone else who dared to question the document have been maligned, falsely labeled, grossly criticized in the bulk of the media on certain internet sources for years. Today, we're going to set the record straight. I believe you will be shocked by what you hear and see today. Also, the implications will be profound. All we have ever wanted was the truth in this matter, with the great hope that the document was indeed a valid representation of the original document. Think of that. We were trying to clear the president. It didn't work out that way. We had to follow the evidence. We let the evidence determine the direction of the investigation. That's what we always do on any investigation. you get the evidence. This one was handled no differently than no matter what the investigation is about.
That was the giveaway in the date stamps. What that is telling you is no matter where you place that date, its angle of trajectory will be identical. It will be the same unless you manually go in and change it. This was one of the things that began the free fall of this document collapsing upon itself. The position of words by using a small X
21
as the
minutes,
point of
guys.
reference
20,
and dragging them all
20.
over. This individual wasn't thinking about their relational positions.
You have two separate documents with two handled.
Okay. I mean, that one wasn't it. It was a clip in which he pretty much let it slip. That chick, I think this may be it.
Those little X's.
They were being real cryptic about who possibly altered the birth certificate. But just pay attention to what he says.
One of those X's was used twice. That's why they appear twice on the Obama certificate. It was the same X from only one box in the honey certificate. What the document examiner Reed Hayes noticed was the X was above the box, but the ink was bleeding into the word on top of it. That's why they had to take the box, the X, and the word, because she couldn't separate it. So obviously, this document
You heard he said because she couldn't separate it, right? You heard that, right?
was a template of some sort or a source. We're not entirely sure. I don't believe it was a template because the positioning of these things, what they did on the date stamps, they didn't change the angles, but they just merely set them a little higher in the boxes. That was how they thought they were concealing it, but it doesn't change the angles. So I'm not sure what the document was. We know it's a source. We're safe bet on that.
Right. Well, I wanted people to, because he slipped up twice, and it was because this person right here.
Experience. Loretta Fuddy in seat 2A wasn't so lucky. She survived the crash, but struggled to tread water, at one point grabbing hold of another passenger's hand.
She was paddling with her feet. You know, she wasn't exactly relaxed. At some stage, she had let go his hand. Probably she had it gripped tightly, and she let go his hand.
I don't know if you can see this, but there's yellow that appears there, and now there's a head surfacing.
And scuba gear.
Too quiet? Turn your sound from 100% to 600% with Sound Max. Just hit Add to Chrome. It installs in seconds. Click the
20 minutes.
She was the one that was releasing the birth certificate, right?
Yes, she's the one that
I'll put
released
us
the
right
birth
at 3 hours.
certificate and possibly altered the birth certificate. Now, the other guy in the other video, he said it a couple times. He said she, but throughout the entire video, they were cryptic in saying it was if it was a he or a she. They were getting a or the person or no. So I'm sorry, I said a. They or the person or the editor or they kept using those words, but he slipped up twice and said she. And the person that I'm leading it back to is Loretta Fuddy, which, of course, everyone survived the plane crash. This was a plane crash that you saw in that video just a second ago, people. And everyone survived. But then all of a sudden, a person creeps up from the water. I'm not sure if you can see my pointer right here.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, it's a scuba gear. I don't know if I can even blow this picture up. This guy didn't give me the option to see if I can. A little bit.
Turning.
He comes in scuba gear and he's
going to go back under. At the conclusion of this clip, I will be.
And she's gone.
Real quick, just to backfill. Remember I said to you a while ago when I was still living in LA, I went to the one doctor that was actually pro-Trump, you remember? And he admitted back to me in want to say it was 23, I think 22 or 23. He admitted that it was created in a bat virus in a Wuhan lab in 2011. So even he knew about it.
He knew. No, it was out there. The information was already out there.
Yeah.
And they planned for this. What it was is they put a rush on it because this virus was supposed to happen during when we were supposed to be fighting China or North Korea. Hillary was supposed to be president, and while we were getting our butts kicked there, they were going to implement this pandemic, and then it's going to force people in the house. And basically, the ultimate goal was to remove the Constitution. That's what their main primary agenda was.
The Great Reset too.
Yeah, it was to remove the Constitution. And that would have happened had it not been for the people who we have in office right now. Because
thank you, Jesus.
Yeah, I know. I thank God every day for this. And of course, you have people out there that just can't let it go because of the TDS syndrome. But remember, this is what it's a little blurry if you see this.
I can see it. Yeah.
This is what the plan was. Everything that it's a couple of things they didn't do for Obama. Of course, they really didn't get rid of all the guns like they wanted to, but it was in this area. And Hillary was supposed to have won the election. They just didn't count on Trump coming up. This was their 16-year plan, and they were supposed to do this. And see right here, it says World War III orchestrated. That is what they were supposed to do because they closed a lot of U.S. bases. I remember they closed Fort Ord right behind us, but that was 96 or 97. This is after I left Fort Ord, and that was one of their goals. But like I said, it's a long-term goal because they played a long game, and they're like I said, ultimately they wanted to get rid of the Constitution. That's what their supreme goal was. But this administration has changed 60, 70 years worth of planning and going on it'll probably be between 12 to 16 years for everything to switch back up. Put it back into the hands of the people.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the enemy always has their plans, but God has the final say, right? Like Proverbs 16:25 says it best, right? Man makes his plans, but God determines his steps. So once again, you're proving that.
God is so cold. He'll let you go until the hour that you think that you're about to win, and all of a sudden he'll snatch the rug from beneath you. And this is what we were talking about earlier, right here, and how you think what makes a great movie is great actors. Now,
oh yeah. Thank you. I wanted to ask you about this.
This is Benjamin Netanyahu. This is the real
one.
Netanyahu. Right? This is him, the real guy. But who is this guy here? Okay. This is the guy that they've been parading in front of TV. Now, you wanted me to pull this up to prove a point. Now, people have to understand the fight is fixed. We already know we're going to win.
Yeah.
But here's the problem.
It's all scripted.
It's up on Amina's show as well. We know the fight is fixed, but we still have to take the blows, and it hurts. It hurts. We get beat up, and namely you, me, Amina, all the truth sayers out there that are actually putting the truth out there. We're getting abused by the public, but they don't understand that we're doing all of this sacrificing for our own face, our own personal just movement, that we're sacrificing all of that to put the truth out there. And I know me and you, we're doing it because God is telling us to do it. Hey, put it out there. Put it out there. Put this information out there. Tell the truth. And that's what we do. We tell the truth.
Yeah, and bots, trolls, and haters hate when you tell the truth. It's like kryptonite for them.
Yeah, they hate it. They despise
hate it. They try to discredit you because that's all they've got. And they hope they can fear porn people who are still psyoped by the old mindset. And that's why we always tell people, change your mindset. Change your paradigm.
But they can't because of that TDS syndrome.
Yep.
And TDS is real.
Well, anybody who tells it like it is that is contradictory or contrapuntal to the lies that we've been fed our whole lives. It's like when you detox your body, Your body initially is fighting it off, and you got to go through that painful detox. But then when you get to the other side, you feel a lot better. But you got, like you said, you got to get to hell to get to heaven, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we're already here, and
right. So
I tell people all the time, when God casted Satan out of heaven, there's several levels of heaven. So he still had access to some of the lower parts, but he casted him down here to earth. So that means earth. He's not in hell. He's here on earth.
Yeah.
The enemy is here, and people are forgetting the fact, or not reading the Bible properly to get that understanding.
Yeah, this is Satan's world, and God's going to turn the tables, but it's got to go through the vetting process, like you said. One other quick question, because I wanted you to show BB, and thank you for doing that, because that proves also that it's a deep state scripted movie actor thing we've been talking about, right? It's all been fixed already, but also begets the point that President Trump is running Israel and not the other way around, because if the real BB would be alive, they would have attacked the power plants by now. They wouldn't have waited this long, right?
Right.
From a military standpoint, does that sound accurate?
Well, it's all, they all have set dates. There's set dates in place that they don't want to get ahead of it because they don't want to make a mistake.
Last question. Thank you. Last question for today, Joe, because I know you got to go and people have stuff to do. But it was important that we flesh this out so people, because they want the proof, they want the context. We have to set that up. It takes a little time. And just, this is your opinion only. I'm taking in your military, your police, your detective, your life experience, all rolled into one when I ask this question. So we're coming into, right now, we're seeing the plane land for the global reset, the financial reset, the wealth transfer, you know the rest, the public knows that we have watching. Come 2030, do you see they're going to try to implement the Great Reset? How do you, in your estimation, see that getting thwarted?
The Great Reset won't make it that far.
Tell the people why.
Because I believe that once they put everything in stone or codify a lot of the laws, 2030 will be probably in the new, I hate to say new order or new world, that I don't even
new paradigm.
But yeah, we'll be there, but it'll be under the good side of it. And because just like there are evil spirits out there, there are good spirits out there as well. And I believe that a lot of things will be in place to where they won't have to, none of that will get put out there. And I think it'll start probably coming up to this midterm. I think this is the transitional period.
Yeah.
This is the next big election is this right here. And then we'll have a 2-year break from dealing with elections and stuff like that. So unless you have some runoffs, which I doubt. But and trust me, people need it because it's election fatigue. I think is real, and we're all burnt out on all of this election stuff. So
we're all over it. We're done with this.
Yeah. It's
financially, the whole thing has just got the facade has to come down. Yeah,
and that's why I think that a lot of this stuff is going to be put in place to where after midterms this year, we're set. I think this is where the truth is going to come out. And
I agree. I think in the next
other thing I want to bring up also,
next 5 months, basically.
Yeah. But another thing I wanted to bring up was the California. Laws that are coming up in California. Oh my God! So look, Newsom put out a law where you can't question fraud. And if you do, you can go to jail. So it's against the law to question a fraud. And if you do, you go to jail behind it. And you can't show evidence or anything like that. This is with the kid that went and exposed a lot of the fraud that was going on.
Nick Shirley.
What's his name?
Nick Shirley.
Shirley. Nick Shirley.
Mm-hmm.
And they call it the Nick Shirley law. And a lot of this stuff is being put in place and it don't make sense. And I think that a lot of that is going to get reversed because of the fraud vitiates everything. And they swapped out Newsom as well. Remember when he went out, he had COVID and he took like a 2-week and then he pops back on the scene and he looks completely different. I don't know if people noticed that or not.
Do you remember I showed you when we were talking back in, I think it was 22, 23, they found in his house outside of Sacramento, they found underground tunnels of bathhouses and stuff that he was, I hate talking about this, but trafficking children, hurting them and all that. And all the residents locally found out about it and created a whole stir and uproar. So I think that's the time when they switched him out.
Yeah, and like right now, the thing that's out there now, he's panicking big time because he put a video out talking about how Trump is attacking him because he's going to run for president. And no, what he's doing, they project. That's what the Democrats do. They project everything that they've done. They project it onto you. The exact same thing that they tried to say Trump did is what he's doing. And what he did, and his wife, she's dirty, she's out there bad. As a matter of fact, it was rumors of her and a certain NFL player being, together. That's all I'm going to say about that. Him allowing this said football player to have his way with his spouse. So I'm gonna leave that alone.
Well,
is there?
Go ahead.
That community is so dark, man. It's crazy.
I was going to say, absolutely to your point. Think about who his aunt was Nancy Pelosi.
The drunkard of the.
Well, they're all part of the royal blue bloodline.
Yeah.
So that's what they thought. They were going to strong arm the process, and as long as you're in the club, you're good. But they're going to find out that's getting chopped up, or they're finding out, I should say.
Yeah, I'm constantly trying to find that video, but I'll post it. And matter of fact, you piece it in.
Yeah, we'll segue it in when we do some editing for this. So, Big Joe, as we wrap things up, thank you as always. Appreciate you being here and soldiering on. I know you got a lot to do. All
right, thanks, Flying Eagle, for letting me know on that one. But I got another one we'll play later. I don't know if I'll get to it or not, but Lucy sent me a video real quick. I'm going to play. It's only 3 minutes, I think. Let me know, Lucy, if this was the one that you want me to play. It's only 3 minutes. Is that British guy?
Today. It says White House will be Q posting today. And if you look at this, there's a big long space, and at the bottom it says, and by Q, we mean quantum. Stay tuned. Then they send this image. It says, are you enjoying the show? Refill your popcorn. You'll love this next part. It says American quantum dominance, and Q is got in brackets. And it shows Donald Trump with a massive Q in the background. Then it will take us on to Q. Remember, Q is a military operation, a system that is quantum, that can be read in so many ways. Posts that started at the end of 2017, and the very last post was November 2022. Almost 5,000 of them, leaving lots of clues. So it says, are you enjoying the show? So let's go through some of these. Post 4. Operation Mockingbird, CIA. Patriots are in control. Sit back and enjoy the show. Your trust and faith in us is enough. You elected us to do the heavy lifting. Enjoy the show. Look, birth of a new nation, new world. They are in full-blown panic mode. Enjoy the show. Look, each fake news article, written or attacked, is a badge of honor. Military grade. We control the mainstream media, the fake news. It's the military operation. Rats running. Timing is everything. Enjoy the show. So many gatekeepers. They are the rats of this dirty swamp. Future will pass. History books. Justice. Justice. Enjoy the show. Today, they are learning the truth. You have been prepared for what is about to take place. Dark to light, enjoy the show. Where we go one, we go all. These posts are all over 6 years ago. You are witnessing the systematic destruction of the old guard. It says May 2019 kick-off, start offence, enjoy the show. And we've only seen it get lighter since then. Then there's this one. Look, never interfere with an enemy in the process of destroying himself. He says, these people are stupid. Enjoy the show. They're latching onto all the mainstream news, reporting to all of us. But it's them that's getting caught in the fake news and the lies that they put out. What advantages might exist when you know the other side's playbook? Enjoy the show. And there's a link and it says trap. They've all been trapped in this. So coming back to this Q, the military operation, they're putting it out us, they're preparing it for us, and we will go back. Future proves past. We've always been in full control. So refill your popcorn and enjoy the show.
Whatever his name is. RAVDQ. Yeah, I'm not sure what his name is. Okay, I think that one was Lucy. I think she sent that one to me, I think. That was the one. All right, well, the first show is down. And quite a bit of good. I don't know if I'll get a copyright blocks again. Probably will. So, come back at 7. I'm trying to make the same time, scheduled time now. I want to see if I can work that out. So, but make sure the second show will be at 7 all the time. So, have a good dinner, everybody. Another for a Monday. Got 2-2. The deuces are wild today. And we got 2 days till the celebration. Thursday night, it's going to be a big intel night. We'll cover all that Thursday. So, God bless everybody. Oh, thanks, mods. Hey, Lucy, Carol, Tim, and Fine Eagle. And we will set the next show up for 7. God bless everybody. Love all. Please hit a like. Stay safe, strong, faith. And there we go. Signing off. Chico dude. K's no fur baby Bella. Bella. Chico saying hi to you too. And there we go. All right, we'll see you after around 7.